All right, we're on.
In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that the notice of this meeting is made by posting on the bulletin board, town hall, and mailing to the officially designated newspapers a list of the meeting dates annually, indicating that this meeting would take place at the town hall at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. Roll call.
Corey Biller,
Here.
Michael Cohen,
Here.
Maggie Miggins,
Here.
Deborah Nevis,
Here.
Srini Vijay,
Here.
David Cosgrove,
Here.
Michael Zion,
Here.
Vice Chair Gaston Halpert,
Here.
Chair Beth Stoll.
Here. Our first order that was listed on the agenda is approval of minutes of April 19th, 2023. Because we have not received them with adequate time to review, we're going to table those and discuss them at our next meeting in June. So we can move on in that case to application 23004 MSS Milburn Realty LLC for preliminary and final site plan approval.
Good evening, everyone. John Wichiscala on behalf of MSS Milburn Realty. My client is the owner of the Milburn Shopping Center. It's located at 720 to 778 Morris Essex Turnpike.
If I could ask you to hold.
Yep,
and
I can
announce
hold.
for the record that Sujata Shan is joining. And that means you will hear all the testimony.
Yes.
And we'll be allowed to. Okay,
Perfect.
great, thanks.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here before the Milburn Board. It's been a while since I've been here. So, and actually, the last time I appeared before you was for another tenancy change in the shopping center. The property is identified as block 1904, lot 20. It's located in your B2B zone district. It is a zone district. It's a business highway district. Provides for a variety of commercial uses, retail services, offices, health club facilities, and instructional schools. I'm sure you're all familiar with the site. It is developed with a two-story multi-tenant commercial mixed-use building. They've got a mix of retail service, restaurant, office, and other uses. The last meaningful improvement to this site was actually back in 1994-95. The building was expanded at that time. The parking lot facilities were expanded as well. And what you see there now, just in terms of the general site plan, is actually what was approved and improved back in the 90s. Reason we're here before you this evening is we are seeking site plan approval with variance relief in conjunction with a proposed change in use and tenancy with respect to an approximately 21,000 square foot leasehold space. And I see people looking at the board. It's the left side of the board where you see the shadings there. Prior tenant in that space was YB Fitness, a health club facility. They closed their doors during the pandemic. Prior to closing and in its heyday, YB actually had a membership of 3,000 members. But they did vacate, space has been vacant for about 2 years now. As with a lot of the other leasehold areas they had in the building, my client has worked diligently to secure tenants into the building. It is a difficult proposition for any commercial shopping center owner given the current economic times. But we finally have 2 tenants that we think are going to work great here, and they're going to be a complement to the center. The proposal that we have before you is basically to carve that, subdivide that 21,000 square foot space into 2 leaseholds. And our 2 tenants proposed are Aquatots, which is a swim instructional academy that provides instruction to children ages 4 months to 12 years old. And the other portion would be occupied by Gold Medal Gymnastics, which is a gymnastics academy for children, actually ages 1 to 18. Aquatots would occupy approximately 7,590 square feet, the most left portion of it, and Gold Medal would occupy the remainder of about 13,400 square feet. As you're going to hear shortly through our testimony, each of these uses have their peak times during the school year and the after-school hours. Some hours on the weekends, and we'll talk more about that. Aquatat's prime season is actually spring and summer, while the Gymnastics Academy really focuses their operations primarily during the school year. The business drops off considerably in the summer months, so we think it works well from an overall operational perspective with the other uses. We are not proposing any changes to the building or the property in general. That's some facade changes we're going to do with respect to doors, and we'll touch on that. But really all we're proposing are interior modifications. The proposed uses are permitted in the zone. The reason we are here before you seeking site plan with variance relief really just relates to parking and the parking ordinance. When this center was originally developed, the ordinance provided and allowed for the use of a general shopping center standard. However, with modifications in the code over the years, we are required to account for all the individual uses, some of which have different parking ratios. The health club facility, which operated here, has a parking standard of 1 space for every 200 square feet of floor area. And when I originally looked at it, I thought, well, we're going from a health club facility to a swim school and a gymnastics studio. Same use, same parking ratio, but looking at it closer and speaking with Ms. Davitt, these uses fall under the category of instructional schools. They have a higher parking requirement of 1 space per every 100 square feet, technically. So that's the reason we are here before you. It's the reason we couldn't do this as an administrative approval and just come with building permits. The shopping center does operate well, even at full occupancy. It's always had ample parking, both before and after the COVID pandemic. And as you're going to hear and see more, we think that these 2 new tenants are going to fit in nicely in terms of their business operations, and the board is applied to grant approvals this evening. So that being said, I really have one witness I intend to call this evening, our project architect, Jim DeBarbary. He's going to run through the plans. Jim has actually been involved in this site. He was here when we did the last renovation in 94, 95. He did the designs. He's been involved in all the tenancy changes, and he has a lot of knowledge of the history here. He'll go through the plans. He'll also speak to operations. We are also joined by the principals of both of the proposed tenants, Howard Berman of Aquatats and Al Maternicola of Gold Medal Gymnastics. So inevitably, we don't have an answer to the question. We may call him in to answer. We also have Andrew Lafredo with MSS Realty. He's been involved in the building, locating tenants, operations, and is also really familiar with the site for a good number of years. So that being said, unless anybody has any questions of me, and Mr. Bruzak's looking at me right now, maybe to say something about notice, and we did notice and submitted all the publications in our affidavits. And I believe everything's in order.
Well, I'm glad I saw the poker face, because while I am looking at you and I do have something to say, it was not that.
Okay.
It's just for the board's benefit. All the information which Scala has provided to you is not fact. That's an attorney. Which Scala's not under oath. He's not going to be placed under oath. So all of that information is a prelude to what his testimony, what his architect's testimony is going to be, and maybe what the principles are going to be. But I want you to know that. I just want to remind you of that, because when we put the resolution together in terms of facts based upon what sworn witnesses have said. So if sworn witnesses reiterate what Mr. Rich Scala has said, then that's a fact. The fact that Mr. Rich Scala has said, we can't rely on that. And he knows that. I'm sure he will take care of that, but we will
Agree.
And I'm not trying to prolong the.
No, it's
application.
fine. I usually like to summarize. Earn my keep when I come to these meetings. So,
Well done.
so that being said, I'd like to call my first witness, Jim DeBarbary.
Please reckon we swear or affirm the testimony about to give tonight, proceeding to the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Your name and spelling.
James Barbary, spelled, his name spelled DeBarberi.
And Mr. DeBarbary, can you please provide the board with a brief summary of your educational and professional background, licenses you hold?
Yes, I'm a senior principal of the Barbary Architects in Rutherford, New Jersey. I received my Bachelor of Architects degree from the University of Notre Dame. I received my license in New Jersey in 1980. I also have licenses in 10 other states, including the surrounding states of New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Connecticut. I'm a member of the American Institute of Architects and New Jersey Society of Architects, and I have provided testimony at many boards and boards of adjustment prior. I did attend that Zoom meeting where Trinity Rehab came into the center, and also at the prior addition to the center back in '95. I was provided testimony here for that.
Thanks, and you can confirm your license is currently.
Yes, it is.
So, Mr. DeBarber, you prepared the plans that will be told the board this evening, is that correct?
Yes.
I'll just turn it over to you and you can provide the board with an overview. If anything we're referring to that is part of the packet, I assume we do not need to mark the. We're gonna mark them all anyway, okay, fine, so.
We can mark that A1 if you want to do that. I think we're going to be talking about that.
Let's put A1 with today's thing on.
And it says the plan with the date on it of March 8th, or is it a different version?
The date on here is 5/8/23.
Okay,
Or 3/8/23.
we have three.
We have 3/8/24.
I'm sorry. Okay, this is our drawing, ST1, it's our site plan. Just to orient you, Mars Turnpike is running horizontal along the bottom. Most of the parking in the center is up front. The stores are located on the north end of the property. West is to my left and east is to my right. And the former YB fitness space, I have it shaded in, two different shades denote the two different tenants that will be here. On the west end will be Aquatats, and right next to that, for the balance of the former YB Center, will be the Gymnastics Academy Goals Gymnastics Academy. Aquatas will be 7,584 square feet. Gold's Metal will be 13,400 square feet approximately.
Me too, and then just identify what it is.
This is our drawing A1, the same date, 3/8/23. These are enlarged plans of the two tenant spaces. Now, I have them separated, but they are actually together. So this area in the middle actually should be up against each other, just so clear on that. On the left is the Aquatats swim school. They have in the middle of their space a 56 by 28 foot in-ground swimming pool in this space. Up front, they have the employee area and offices, the reception area. Toward the rear, they have the changing rooms, toilets, and pool equipment also is located inside the space. The right tenant, right next to that, is the Gold's Gymnastics Academy. They will have the space up front entrance, offices, toilets, and the rest of the space has exercise equipment, floor exercising, tumbling, they have uneven bars, trampolines, all kinds of gymnastic activities, instruction. The swim school, is, both these spaces are mainly for, children elementary school age. Equitas, handles children less than a year, to 12 years of age. Gold medal also as preschool to 18 years of age. While we have the plans up here, one of the comments from the planning report is this front door in the gymnastics academy that opens right up under the parking lot. And the suggestion was a good suggestion that we want to change is to close that door so it's not an entrance and locate the entrance to the right side, which I will show you some photos of the building. It's under the canopy and protected from the parking area so that anyone, children exiting this will be under cover and outside of the parking. The planning report also requested that, because with our original package, we didn't provide any elevations, which we usually would, if it was a new building. But what I did was, we took some pictures of the center so you could see what it looks like, in case you're not familiar with it.
Let's mark that sheet, 8th grade, and I don't think we have to mark each and every photograph. The areas, can you just, when you identify photographs, just your upper left, upper right, center, left, right, lower left, right. You could.
Okay,
Thank you.
the upper left, I have it marked as view of the front. Okay, that's the entire former YB Fitness facade. I have a red line in here. I'm going to use my pencil because I know you can't see it. That's where the demising wall between the new tenants would be, approximately. The left side of this Equitas will be about a little more than 1/3 of that space, and the white for gold medal gymnastics will be a little less than 2/3 of the space. So that's the vision of it. To the upper right, this is where Equitas would be, and I wanted to bring this up also to show you. It's hard to see, I know you can't see it, but there's a bike rack here. That will be removed, and that's where the entrance to the Equitas will be. It's in a little alcove that's undercover, separated from the parking, and that will be a safer entrance into that space. The next photo I have is a view of the front and right side, and this is where Gold's Gymnastics will be. And again, there's a pot here, as a planting pot on the sidewalk, and there will be the entrance to that center. Again, taking it away from the front door that we want to close. We go back to the upper elevation, that front door that goes directly out of the parking. You can see it right here, and that will be closed.
It's basically where you step out in the crosswalk, is when you first step out that door.
The next photo is a view of Whole Center looking down, more of a perspective view of the corner. The elevation below that is a further perspective showing this west end of the center. And the lower left photo is an enlarge of that front area with that door that we are going to close out. Just want to give you some information.
Before we get off the photograph, Jim, one of the other comments that was in the board planners report actually spoke to maybe some additional pedestrian safety items, or perhaps either bollards or planters, and we were amenable to doing that and working with engineering as well. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, and it, I don't know if you've been there, but we have been putting up some additional bollards in that center recently. And I would suggest that we, continue that on both these areas because it is fairly close to, parking. And of course, there's children in these two, and I think we want to keep them away from running out in that, traffic area. Want to give some information again about the two tenants. Aquatats, again, the age group is children less than a year to 12 years. Their hours would be 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. The busiest time is after school, 3:30 to 8 p.m. And the busiest time of that day, that afternoon period, 3:30, they would have in the order of 45 to 30 children at a time. That would be at a instructional period, which I believe is approximately an hour, but that could vary. And they would also
Just to
have,
correct you there, you had to say 45 to 60 kids on a maximum shift.
yeah, it's in that range. Plus, there would be 15 to 20 staff. Okay, and seasonally, their attendance drops off 20% in the winter because nobody wants to swim in the winter.
I think in their busiest
Somebody
times,
does,
in their
but-
busiest times, Mr. DeBoer, we are actually spring and summer, correct?
Yes, yes. Gold medals gymnastics, their age group is preschool to 18 years. Their hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Again, their busiest after school, generally 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Their busiest time is, they would have 50 children at a time and 10 staff. And they drop off approximately 30% of business in the winter. I'm sorry, in the summer. They drop off in the summer, about 30%.
Just to make a correction, they actually drop off by about 70%, about 30% of the business.
Yes.
Okay.
Since Mr. Scala interrupted me, I'm going to do the same thing. The hours were 9 to 9, is that 7 days a week? You mentioned 7 days a week.
I believe it's 9 to 9, Jim, you can just
Right.
answer me correctly, 9 to 9, Monday to Friday, Saturdays and Sundays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., correct?
That's correct. Okay, I just,
And similarly, the majority of their business during the week is in the 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., correct?
yes. I just want to go through some things that are in the planning report.
Well, before we get to that, I just want to touch base just a little bit more, just with respect to Aquatats, they do actually, there is a requirement that a parent bringing the children actually stays, they come to the facility and they stay while their children are in instruction, correct?
That's my understanding.
On the other hand, the gymnastics academy, based on discussions we've had, with the principal is primarily a pick-up and drop-off situation, with the exception, of course, of the pre-K children, is that right?
That's correct. Okay, but planning report number 1 from topology brought up a few items I want to address. First of all, we will not be going for any sign approvals for this application. That'll be the responsibility of each tenant to get their own sign. So that would be nothing that we'll be presenting tonight on signage.
And the anticipation is they'll either come in for a sign permit for a conforming sign, or if the tenants decide to implement something larger than the code, and they find themselves back before this board.
There was a request for me to provide elevation plans for the west and south side of premises. I think this will suffice for that. And I think this is clearer than anything I could draw. There's also a request for a clarification of the stairs and elevator that are depicted in the gymnasium area. There's two sets of stairs.
So you're referring to, that's A2?
That is A2, yes. It's my drawing A1, the enlarged floor plans. There's two sets of stairs, and there's a dash box around this that represents a depressed area in the center of this space, almost like an atrium. And that will stay. That presently is in the YB Fitness place, and we're not going to do any changes to that. That'll stay. There also was a request to explain the elevator. As the thought was, does this elevator go to the second floor? No, it goes to the same depressed area. It was there for handicap purposes, handicapped accessible purposes. As far as the site comments, the first one we discussed, it's about providing some protection for the facility and the pedestrian walkway. And the suggestion is that we'll follow through with the bollards we already are doing on the rest of the center. Item 3, applicant should confirm whether the existing Zoom Fitness door is supposed to remain. That leads directly to the proposed floor exercise area. That door is right here in front of the exercise area. If you recall my testimony prior, we want to put a new door in here that would enter this to the left. Now, these are preliminary plans to some extent. They still have to be finalized. So we would like to leave the option open that we could use the door that's in this location or the door to the left. And the tenant may revise the plans to use those doors. Again, that is under the cover and away from the parking. The door that we will be closing permanently is the one in front here at the corner, right here. Okay, and a question as far as the existing windows, whether they will remain storefront or will they be covered? They will remain clear and transparent so you can see into the spaces. And the big item, of course, is the parking variance. And in my opinion, the reasons this will not be a detriment to this application is that, and this is my opinion, the activities that are going to take place here are not exactly, in my opinion, instructional. Again, the reference was that instructional demands a ratio of one space for every 100 square feet, whereas YB Fitness, for example, had one space for every 200 square feet. So, in my opinion, the parking requirement for these two spaces is inflated. It is instructional, I'm not saying it isn't, but at the same time, when you look at some place like this golf gym, there's mats and large areas there. So it's not like a classroom situation that you would think instructional was. Takes a lot of space to put all this equipment in here, the trampoline. So that ratio to me of one space for every 100 square feet does not exactly fit this. The same to some extent with Aquitas, although that's a smaller space, and I believe the requirement still is not the same as a classroom, but it will have activity that's somewhat less than classroom requirement. And of course, these uses are for children. Children don't drive. The parents will be bringing them here. Aquatots, the parents will stay. The Gold's Academy, parents will not, and will come back and pick them up. So the parking requirements for that is not one-to-one as to children.
And both of these operations, they're all scheduled activities. They're scheduled groups and they stagger the timing for instruction. And I say that both with respect to aquatots as well as goals. And that really is to manage the number of people coming and going and to avoid the constant influx, gaps where more people on site and make sure they.
Yes, yeah, our discussion with the two prospective tenants did explain that to us. And I have to mention again that with the drop-off in business for both of these tenants that complement each other. One's more busier than the summer, one's more busier in the winter. That's a classic for shared parking. So again, I think that also reduces the parking requirement that is a result of our calculation based on this being an instructional application. What did I miss, Joe?
Nothing other than you've been to the site, you are familiar with it, you've observed the parking trends out there. In your opinion, is the existing parking, or 283 spaces, I believe it is, adequate to meet the needs, not only of these tenants, but the centers as well?
Yes, I believe so, and I've not just been there recently, I've been there back and forth for over 30 years.
And you approve the variance relief granted without substantial detriment to the public good,
Yes,
and without impairment to the members of the building.
yes.
Thank you. I have nothing further. We did also receive reports from the township forester who had no comments. We actually planted some trees on our last Trinity application, which was mentioned, and I don't think engineering had anything either. That concludes our case.
Great, thank you.
Where's Mr. DeBarber's testimony?
Yes. First, just for everybody's benefit, we're gonna now take questions from members of the planning board. After that, we will take questions from members of the public have questions. And then we'll come back to you to continue to say anything. At which point, members of the public who have just testimony and want to make any statement would be allowed to come forward and do so. Okay, so let's begin with questions from the board on Mr. Barbieri's testimony. I'll jump in and then we can ask if they like. Did you, as you prepared the parking lot design, did you speak to the periphery further, specifically on the western edge of the parking lot, and what is there today and what is proposed? And looking at what I think is exhibit A1 from the parking lot.
There is no change to the site at all. When you refer to the western side, there is an opening to the adjacent center here that also exits, but there's 1, 2, 3 entrance exits on the site itself.
You mentioned being at the site many times in general, as well as recently. Did anybody do a count of sort of vacant spaces during what are anticipated to be the busy times of day at the center, just to get a sense of what current availability there is at the site?
No traffic count was done.
Okay.
Just anecdotally.
Yeah.
Anecdotally.
Just an app.
I've never seen any issues.
I think you might be. Can you repeat the attendance figures? Sure.
Okay, for Equitas, it was 50 to 60 children at one time with 15 to 20 staff. And for gold medal gymnastics, it was 50 children at a time with 10 staff.
At maximum shifts,
This
correct?
is maximum shifts, the busiest time of the day, which is after school and at the time of the year when we have maximum operation.
I'm not sure, it's not specifically about the parking, but you mentioned that Aquatas is about 7,000 square feet. How much of that is the pool and how deep will the pool be?
I don't know exactly the depth of the pool, we could get that information for you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Mr. Scala's ready to say it, but,
I was ready to tee up Mr. DeBarbery because I know what the answer is.
The,
that's the
Why don't you-
question.
Why don't we hold that question for a moment, and we'll circle back and I can have Mr. Berman sort of provide.
Thank
but
you.
as far as the pool goes, it's a 56 feet long by 28-foot wide pool. That doesn't include the walkway around the pool itself.
And if I was to say, does 4 feet in depth sound right, Mr. DeBarbery?
Yes, that's what I believe it would be. There's no diving, I know that.
So I really actually a question for Martha. Do you have any issues? Obviously, a pool is going to be heavy and water and whatnot, heavier than gym equipment. Do you have any issues as the engineer with that?
No, you did say it was in ground, right?
Yes, and I can explain that this portion, this lighter gray portion is slab on grade, so it would just be removing the slab and excavating soil.
The water weighs less than soil.
I just had a quick question. In terms of looking at all these under the terrace and doing the entrance, where am I supposed to put boilers and handrails? Where exactly?
Okay, this is the area of the concern in the front. It's hard to see, but there's a line here that designates the extent of the sidewalk. You can see that between the building and the sidewalk here is very short, and that's what the planner was concerned about. We agree. And that door was located right in that location. So that's the one we're going to close. We're going to relocate the doors to the left side and the right side, which is an area under cover. And that is away from parking. It's a protected area.
Yeah, and I think our intention was, and we've not discussed it specifically with Mr. Pollard, but we would work for, there was a comment in his report. And we just figured we would work as a condition of approval, just thoughts and maybe some ideas on what things might go into pedestrian circulation and safety.
You spoke to the depressed area of the lower level as a former member of Wellington Fitness. That area was used quite frequently for weights and other rooms where they have exercise classes, etc. So what is going to be planned in that whole lower level space that did have access with the two staircases?
They will be continuing gymnastic activities. The plan we have right now is schematic to an extent. I'm not aware of what else would be planned in that lower level. Maybe we would provide that information to you or testimony.
Because it will be used then, in addition to the top level.
Yes,
So will that, so your square footage for the original spot is just for the top floor?
uh,
Or does that
Yes,
include the
that-
lower level?
it's the top floor, but this square footage of 13,378 does not include the cutout in there. So
So there is more square footage that they will be using, so they could possibly have more classes because there is all of that space downstairs, is that correct?
yes, At the same time, there's also some landlord areas, there's electric room, there's exit stairs,
No,
and
I
things
know
like
that
that,
the
so
space-
would not all be used.
But some of.
Some of it would be, yes.
Yeah, that's a question. Shouldn't that all of the usable square footage be counted in the calculation?
I would believe so, yeah.
So it's where it's possible you're underestimating them because of the two levels of usable space. Understanding and share one understanding.
Yeah, it might be, I have to go through the calculation, because the lower level, again, it's got the mix of mechanical equipment, electric rooms, stairs and everything. I have to do a calculation to go through that, so it's not a full, it's generally 12,000 square feet on the lower level, but that's taken up by a lot of plumbing areas, mechanical rooms, to do a calculation on that. And again, the upper level does not include the cutout, so we wouldn't be counting the cutout on the upper level. And that would drop to less than the 13,000, which shown here, 13,000.
Go ahead.
Was in fact that space, however, utilized by the previous tenant in a somewhat similar effect?
Yes, I've been in the YB space several times.
I know
Yeah.
we're not from a board member, but she's.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be using a similar fashion. There were a series of different areas down there. Some were even offices which have the lower ratio, so it's hard to say if they're gonna be used exactly the same space.
I have a question for Lorraine.
Martha, we have a question for you.
Martha, I have a question for you, or maybe for Ray. In terms of the parking calculation, square foot, one space per foot, or one space per 100 square feet, or one space per 300 square feet. Is it just the usable area that's calculated, the usable area by the prospective tenant, or is it just essentially the footprint? And if it's 2 floors, it's 2 footprints, so to speak.
I think it's more than I need.
Yeah, I mean,
This is passive.
Everybody's
I mean, if you wanted my opinion, I could give you that, but I'm not sure how this.
Well, if Eileen is going to.
Yeah.
Then pass it to her.
I mean, I would say then you would have to dissect each individual and take out the office. Well, if that's one per 100, one per 150, you'd have to kind of dissect the whole area. The reality is it's in a shopping center, which has a parking requirement all of its own. So, but if you want to kind of pick the building apart, then, if you want to just confine the gymnastics area that's been used for gymnastics to that parking requirement, and then you'd have to go through and what's equipment.
And you have to do that for every tenant. really,
Exactly.
If you're going to do that. So I suppose the easiest ability is just to.
Use the whole thing.
Instructional
Right.
facility.
Just use
one per 100 square feet of gross area, and it is what it is.
Right.
And recognizing that not all of that
Is being used, correct.
I'm wondering if you have numbers for, how many, people were using YB at peak times as compared to what's being projected for these two spaces.
At peak times, no, I know the membership was 3,000 to 4,000.
Yeah.
But I don't know what peak
I mean,
time.
I also was in there, and there weren't that many people there at the time, and I could have trouble finding parking over there, so that's why I'm wondering if we have any way of comparing. I could drive around quite a bit trying to find parking, and going in to use my lead, so I was wondering, this could be, for over 100 at a time.
Yeah, well, our view is YB was a more vibrant user and a higher traffic generator, despite the fact that it has lesser of a parking standard and instructional stores where you do have pick up and drop off. the parents bringing children, some of those classes, multiple children within the class. So I don't believe we have any facts and figures that we closed for, I guess, 2 years. We do know that for the most part, and Jim can confirm this, because I'm not testifying, but most times that left-hand side out in front, that whole parking field, the side parking is largely unutilized in its current configuration.
Okay, where's the?
I have a question, just knowing how children are, as classes are letting out, who's gonna be supervising the children? The pickup in terms of the, when you talk about the hours and everything, is there somebody that might get to your question and then to the people, especially since the parents will be accompanying.
So Aquatox is the easy answer because a parent is with them. If you want that answer, I don't have it for Gold Medal, but they can speak to it as well. And I can call it.
Okay, let's have Mr. Coster ask his questions and we can do that.
A couple of questions, on your estimate of 45 for the swim operation, 50 to 60 people, 15 staff. Aren't the lessons are half-hour long, aren't they? It's
Which one are we talking about?
Aquatox, yes.
Why don't we,
It's a franchise, and my research at least was that they're 30-minute classes, and it sounded like there's 4 students to every.
That's accurate, actually, it's about 27 minutes, I shut it down 3 minutes sooner, I do know that, but I can have Mr. Berman actually, if you want to hear it directly from him, maybe better suited.
Yeah, I'm more interested in an actual witness than an attorney telling me that. But if you don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer.
And then but you did say there's 15 staff. Is the 15 staff just the instructors, or is that the back office help and the office help as well?
I believe it's a mix of both.
Okay, so total of 15 there from there, and then you give it to them.
Yes. That's, again, at the peak. There's sometimes when we get less busy than that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, no, just to kind of see up that one there, it's 60 children, maximum 60 children in the pool, or is that including adults?
That's what we've been told, yes.
Okay. So it's basically 100, maybe 120 people.
No, it was 45 to 60 children, and I had as a note.
But we checked that one.
Yeah, the adults aren't in the pool,
Okay,
except
okay.
Mr. Barberie for the pre-K or non-directing instruction.
Yes.
So,
I have a question relating to the application. Now, what you said is.
You can ask if the witness, if he can't answer, then we'll find a way.
It says in the last page, in the second last paragraph, it says, in addition to foregoing, the applicant requests that the application be deemed amended to include any additional variances, design exceptions, and or waivers that may be required during the process of the application. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, that's
The
actually
notice.
just the catch-all we put in,
The
because
same as
we
the
applied
notice.
and we noted this variance, but in case during the course of review, if it was picked up that, there was a side yard variance that we weren't aware of. It's really just a catch-all, and we put that same catch-all actually to the legal notice, when we prepare it.
And can you speak to that? as
Yes,
consistent with-
that's correct, and there's varying interpretations of that as to when it applies and when it doesn't apply. It's not applicable in this case, it's there as a catch-all. But sometimes we get into whether the variance that may have come up during the course of the proceedings is covered under that language. But that's for discussion.
I just wanted to thank you.
Brandon?
Just for the benefit of the board, Grant Bennett, board planner, I just wanted to note following Mr. Barber's presentation of the revised entry to the Gold Gym space that is consistent with the comment that we presented. So I just wanted to include that based on the testimony that was presented, that matches the spirit of our comment. So thank you.
If we have no further questions for Mr. Barbieri, I will allow the public, if anybody from the public has questions for Mr. Barbieri based on his testimony. Okay, we'll allow you to come forward. If you want to put the mic back on the stand, and then he can stand, that'd be great. We can just ask you to say your name and your address and then ask the questions.
So Ben Stoller, 422 Wyoming, Millwood, New Jersey. As Ms. Miggins and Deborah were members, I was also a member of Lady Fitness. And there was difficulty coming around on Saturdays and Sunday mornings in particular, especially the day shop right next door. That being the case, it's a fantastic idea. I was out from gymnastics, which is good, I wish we did 5 years ago. But has there been a feasibility study that would include the cost for providing additional parking if required? If required, and also would that additional parking infringe on that back space that abuts the neighborhood behind YB? Has that been looked at and reviewed? Because, I always knew if I had to find a spot, I'd take the truck and park in the back right next to that fence. And, there are a lot of people that take those spots, so that's the second question.
Yeah, we didn't,
Is it possible for Mr. Barbieri to answer the question? Yeah, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't reviewed that. As you know, the lot is pretty much fully developed. There is some extra space here that we could possibly kick this out a little bit, get a few more cars.
So you're pointing to the west side of the
The west
property.
side, yeah, there's a larger area in here that's much larger than an average aisle. We could do something, but we're not gonna get back many spaces. We're talking about a handful.
Yeah, I have an additional question was, those of us with young kids know that those sites, gymnastics and the swimming usually turn into party venues. Was that reviewed with the principal bringing in the businesses? And what does that do to parking? If you have 30 kids for a 10-year-old birthday party in addition to the classes going on, et cetera.
So that's a big question, and I'm actually gonna call on the Gymnastics Academy, principal, and I'll have him address that as well.
Okay, I meant to tie that to parking as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Jeffrey Phil, 11 Alexander Lane, Short Hills, New Jersey. I have really two questions. First one goes to the pool because it's instructional. As children are doing, where will be the shallow end of the pool? Will it be at the end or will it be along the longer end for where our kids were taking instructional? Where we went to the academy, I think Berkeley Heights, that the shallow end was along the longer end. I just wanted to know, like, the design of the pool, if it's going to be instructional, that whether they're considering the shallow end to be like slope along the way rather than at the end. The other question is rising because of the enforcement of the commercial solid waste pickup. Where will the garbage be picked up? Is there a for the parking, the whole shopping center, is there a location where these new owners, because that's been a point that based on the approvals that come from this land use, there has to be a requirement that the two new tenants or the owner will be required for commercial solid waste pickup. That's an issue that's fronting in the municipality. And I just want to know where, based on these two uses, where will there be the commercial solid waste pickup for their projects?
Okay, we'll have to get testimony on it, but my understanding is the pool is 4 feet deep, flat, so there's no deep end on it. This center is set up so that there are trash compactors in the rear adjacent to these loading areas, and that's where all the trash is brought and picked up.
Any further questions from members of the audience? Okay, well, I think we have another witness.
Terrific, I do. At this time, I'd like to call out.
umbrella concept, after your internet, thing with it, how should number it?
I do.
Your name, your application.
Al Notarnicola, Notarnicola.
Mr. Terracola, why don't you just explain to the board who you are and what your connection is with Gold Medal Gymnastics?
I own Gold Medal Gymnastic Centers. Been owning them since 1994. It's one of the oldest gymnastic centers in the tri-state area. It's started in 1973, 50 years old. And pretty much we're excited to come bring this to the community. We've been servicing many communities on Long Island. And this will be the first one we're doing here in New Jersey. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Terracola, there was a question earlier just regarding, we spoke about Aquatots and the fact that the parents are there with the children and they're coming and going. Correct me if I'm wrong, you've indicated you always provided us information. You primarily pick up and drop off, is that correct?
That's correct.
And,
Yeah.
and how is that controlled when board members ask the question? You know, when one group is leaving, the next, what monitoring is in place, or how does that part of the operation work?
Pretty much what happens is the parents will drop off to most of the students, and then the parents will come back and pick them up. And they come in and out of the building. We don't release the kids into the parking lot. We have the front desk by the exit and entrance door. We have a hall monitor. We also monitors the hallway for safety for the kids. So the only parents that really stay are the kids that are in preschool age. So we do have a small lobby for those parents.
And there was a question raised regarding, I forget who raised it, parties. Do you provide any party functions at the?
Yes, we do birthday parties on weekends. Parents can book them. They book the entire gym, so it's only 15 to 30 kids in the entire facility. And some of them drop off, some of them stay as well for those.
No cooking, food prep on premises for any parties. And
No,
they bring what they have and they bring when they leave with whatever's left.
correct. And the pizza guy will deliver the pizza, and that's pretty much.
And on refuse and recycling, your trash needs, is it mostly office products, paper products, things of that nature?
Yeah, exactly. I was instructed by one of the buildings to package it. The old tenants will share, and we'll be using that same contact.
Additional questions? I do. So if there are gonna be birthday parties there, I'm thinking about the stairs in that building, there are 2 sets of stairs that I'm just wondering what kind of safety measures you're gonna provide so that kids aren't falling down the stairs. Cause they're pretty open as they existed under Marby.
Yeah, we have stairs in some of our other facilities that we have now. Basically, we keep a really high ratio during the parties. So even if we have like 25 kids, we'll have 5 instructors, and the kids are in groups, and the kids aren't allowed on any equipment without an instructor. So they're also allowed going downstairs without instructors.
You have birthday parties only on the weekends, is that correct? Not during the week. When you're having birthday parties on weekends, are there still classes going on as well?
No,
No.
the parties, or
Yes.
they get the whole gym.
So no, nothing else.
Yeah.
And will you be using the downstairs area? That wasn't included in this birthday?
Minimally, we were planning on maybe a couple of little dance studios down there, and then we wanted to store our gymnastics equipment down there. And but it wasn't not going to be the main focus of our operations.
Yeah, are all your classes scheduled in advance, so you have time slots when people come, or can they come at any time for a period of time? How does that operation work?
A parent picks their time slot per week, so they'll come to the same day and time every week, and they sign up on a monthly recurring membership, and they let us know if they're gonna stop the membership or not. But basically, they're one day and time is there, so the school year, and then we re-enroll in the summer, and we re-enroll back to school.
And all of it is supervised for classes as opposed to for open time.
Yeah, well, they're all classes. open gym was something popular back in the day, but we don't do those anymore. It's just classes for instructions.
Thank you.
You're from Long Island?
Yes,
Yeah. How many gyms do you have in Long Island?
6,
6. You live in Long Island?
yes.
Other questions? Questions from the audience for Mr. Retirement Gold Rock? Thank you.
Thank you.
Howard Berman. Aquatex.
Sure. Howard, Howard, last name Berman, Berman.
Mr. Berman, please provide the board just your affiliation with Aquatex.
Sure. I am the co-owner of the local franchisee of Aquatex Swim Schools. We do have a location that we opened in Clark, New Jersey, in November of 2021. And this location will be open in the election year of February.
A couple questions. Why don't you speak directly to the pool, how the pool operates, depth, et cetera, in the first instance of the
Sure thing. So I know one of the questions was the size of the pool. The pool is 28 by 56 and a half, approximately 1,500 square feet. We do have a 5-foot perimeter deck all the way around the pool. So the pool room comes to about, I think it's 2,500 square feet, about 7,500 square feet. The pool itself is 4 feet deep, continuous depth, a 2-inch pitch to the main drain, so that the pool drain.
And questions were raised, scheduling classes, duration, you could speak to that part of the operation.
Sure. So we do not do any birthday parties at our locations. The brand does do some birthday parties. We pretty much specialize only in the lessons. We don't really do any of the competitive swim instructions. And we do run all of our lessons are 30-minute lessons, 27 minutes in the water, 12 minutes for the turnover. We stagger our classes by 10 minutes. So the classes start every 10 minutes. So we might start 3 classes at 3:30, 3 classes at 3:40, 3 classes at 3:50, and then on a 30-minute cycle. What that does is that helps us with the flow through our school. We're not overloading our bathrooms, we're not overloading our changing rooms, and subsequently outside, we're not crushing the parking. Because if we were to try to turn over the entire school at once, we would have double the people off the site. So it's really even out the flow.
And Jim had testified earlier, your busiest, your peak times during the year are the spring and summer months, is that correct?
Yep, we're right in the middle of our peak, or right at the start of our peak. April, May, June, July, August, and then it usually starts to decline through the end of the year. And then January, we start slowly ramping up. But our peak season is very much this 4 or 5 months. And we do drop about 18 to 20%.
It's just like, I'm sorry to harp on this, and it's 60 kids in the pool at one time when you stagger it like that.
So it's 40 kids in the pool, 40 to 44 kids in the pool, depending on how many zones we're using. Then we've got our instructors that are in the pool with them. It is 4 kids to a class. So there are scenarios where we have parent top classes, usually no more than 2 of those, where there would be 4 parents in the water with the kids. But other than that, the parents are not in.
Okay, yeah, no, again, it goes back to talking, trying to figure out exactly how many, this, if you're gonna put them up there at 60 and then we add on to it, the lower it is, the more realistic it might be.
Correct.
Better stay lucky. So, yeah, I'm just trying to get an idea of that.
You said you have 3 places, you have 2, 1 at Clark.
So we have one in Clark that's open and operating for the last 18 months. I've got one that's permitting right now in Old Bridge, and then this will be our 3rd location here.
What's the staff ratio? So with the question of, we've got, at the peak time, you've got 40 to 60 kids.
Mhm.
How many people working there for you?
So my staff is 15 to 25.
Okay, total.
Total.
Okay, that includes like back office people that are walking around, keeping an eye on things.
Oh, you might dry staff, yes. You don't dry staff.
Okay,
So
thank
we'll have, say, front desk, we'll have 6 or 7 front desk people. Usually one of the front desk people is one of my managers. And then we'll have anywhere from 14 to 18 aquatic staff, whether they're instructors, whether they're lifeguards, depending on our volume. Sometimes we have to have a second lifeguard, and we always have multiple water watchers.
Thank you.
How does this facility compare in size to the one in Clark?
So this is 75 million?
73.
76, 52. So it's exactly the same size. And the pool is the same size.
Do you happen to know how many parking spots are out in front of the parking facility?
Oh, I'm in a very different shopping center in Clark. I've got Whole Foods, Party City, like, fitness, not fitness, LA Fitness. So, I mean, it's probably 400, I have to guess, for the whole facility, but it's got every big box store.
You live in New Jersey?
Sorry?
You live in New Jersey?
I do. I live in Westfield.
Questions from the public?
We have no further witnesses.
Thank you. Do any members of the public have any comments or testimony that they want to provide on this application? Move the board, please. Questions, concerns?
I guess I have a question, Mrs. Scala. Do we know the magnitude of variance in light of this recalculation? There were estimates, and obviously, it's plans that.
Yeah, obviously, we had it based on the first floor, Jim, roughly, what is that number gonna be when you were running counts?
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
A ballpark.
Magnitude versus if you're including that first, no, if you're including, how many more spaces deviation is it if you include that lower level of space that wasn't counted?
The lower level space is about 12,000 square feet. The upper space, which I have here, is 13,398. You take the atrium up, if you don't count that twice, that's 12,000. So roughly for 24,000 square feet. And just, I was, while everyone was talking, I was going through that means that with that, if we took that into account, we'd need 240 cars just for the gymnasium and stuff, using that educational ratio. That's why it seems to me that's not the proper ratio. I'm not saying it's not instructional, I mean, it is instructional, but it just doesn't work for this use.
If it were not instructional, it would be half that, right? Because 132.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I need to.
Thank you. And excuse me, and if we use the 200 square feet, that is what was used, was it not, for private tenant?
Correct, that was the standard, health club fitness facilities is a 1 per 200 standard.
And therefore, there would not have been the need for the variance.
Correct.
And we use, because it's the same space that we're.
That's right, Mr. Brazil.
Thank you.
Refresher on this. If we do grant the variance, does that variance now stay for this space, or do we have to revisit it if something changes?
Yeah, if the use changes, if the use changes that affects the parking, then if it's even a more stringent standard, for example, if one parking space is 50 feet, they have to go up for that. If it's less, if they go back to a use that is non-instructional, it's 1 to 200, then it will cover.
So it will stay,
It'll
if the use stays at your education, okay.
I think you could start with 1 per 100 on those aggressive.
That's our most restrictive parking requirement. We don't have anything that's less than.
And then the one condition I heard, the applicant would do on bollards.
Yeah.
Providing them in coordination with our grant.
Yeah, if I may add, we've reviewed Graham's report. We're agreeable to all of his comments, although with one exception, and I did speak with him. He had mentioned the possibility of, or suggested that we may want to consider going to the DOT to get a letter of no interest or a DOT permit. I can tell you, we're not changing, obviously, any of the driveways that are associated with this. I do believe if we had to go to the DOT, we could get a letter of no interest from them. It is involved, we have to get a traffic engineer involved to make a submittal. I do know that in the eyes of DOT, whether they're not going to view a gym facility any different than a swim academy or something else. If you're going to a different use, say a coffee shop or types of uses that generate more significant traffic, particularly in the morning peak hours, the DOT may have an interest in it. But we are requesting that that not be imposed as a condition that we have to go to the DOT. They would view this anyway as a commercial shopping center. We don't believe it's a necessary exercise.
Thank you. Graham, can you just respond to that?
Yeah, I think based on Mr. Michascala's characterization and the review of the DOT reports as well, I concur with this assessment that DOT would not be a major issue.
Thank you. Right, so just the one condition on the bollards. We should grant approval, and yeah, I think the bollard, well, the door, they said they didn't want to relocate. I heard Mr.
No, so on the door, our plans presently still show that door, the one where you step out is right into the crosswalk. That's being closed off, so plans will be amended to show that. And we're either going to have the door into the gymnastics academy again gym. It'll either be put here or we'll continue to use that one existing door that is under the cover and comes out to the sidewalk.
So the plans will be amended to make the door right from the very frontmost to
Eliminate
location
that,
off to the
we'll either leave the one door that's there or close that door and put it sideways.
Thank you. Yes, I would thank you, maybe for checking for the experience that there are those two levels. I think, I appreciate the testimony of how it's intended to be used, and the intensity of which it will be used based on testimony, so.
I'm looking at our planner's report, just to give you numbers, and eventually, if we want to move approval, we include this. For 400, according to his report, there are 283 parking spaces existing. That utilizing the 100 square feet, 1 for 100 square feet, the requirement, the total requirement for parking, would be 488 parking spaces. So if we add another 120 spaces to that, because of the 12,000 additional square feet, that would be, if my math is right, 608 parking spaces required and 283 spaces provided. Again, just for the math.
Right,
I
so
recognize, yes.
We would need to include that. You said if anything was to get moved, we would.
Well, what I'd like to do is just have something in the resolution that shows what we have, so that if there's a subsequent application, which I'm sure there will be in sometime in the future, we have something to look back to say, here's what we were looking at, here's what the various was, and that may eliminate the need to get future variances if this variance is written. On the other hand, we can grant the variance just based upon this application, so it doesn't become the standard. In other words, that we're granting them the ability to have uses that would have 688 spaces in 283 spaces. We can limit it to this, given the testimony that we've been given, so it can't be just an omnibus kind of variance.
Thank you, Mr. Buzek, for referencing the figures in our report, but I just did also want to note from the board that the applicant's parking analysis actually shown here on sheet S1 on the right corner, has all those figures and the existing use.
That's what I'm,
Yes.
okay, yeah. those are-
We just use their numbers and confirm.
You didn't count it yourself. did you?
And we would, of course, would revise, another condition, we would revise the plans just to address the final parking calculation, realizing that 12,000 square feet, a lot of it is mechanical, really, and other things, but I think for a conservative perspective, we're just treating it as the box.
Thank you. Okay,
So if the variance is granted, it's granted with the idea of the second piece, which is just with this.
Well, that's up to the board. We recommend the limit to this because this is
and we would do that by stating that we, just exactly that we limit to this use and no changes.
It's not the omnibus variance,
Okay.
688 spaces. Any uses that
Yeah.
would produce 688 spaces.
I think that makes sense. Okay. So to take a motion, to make a motion, I would move to approve the application with plans amended, a change in the location of the door from the front to be updated in, I guess, the final version of the plans and design. Inclusion of bollards for pedestrian safety, and note that the variance awarded is limited to this use as testified tonight.
Do bollards and or planters.
Yeah, I think they-
Sorry, bollards and the planters, I apologize. We have a second on that motion.
Corey Biller,
Yes.
Michael Cohen,
Yes.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes.
Deborah Neves,
Yes.
Sujatha Shan,
Yes.
Srini BJ,
Yes.
David Cosgrove,
Yes.
Gaston Halbert,
Yes.
Beth Stoll.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
Thank
everyone,
you.
appreciate it.
We look forward to having you again. Okay, our next order of business is continuation or carrying of application 22003 and Melbourne Partners. If anybody needs a 2 to 3 minute break before we begin, let's do that. We will reconvene at 8:55 p.m. As I mentioned just before we pause, we are continuing application 22003, Annie Milburn Partners, as was carried from our May 3rd meeting. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board of the public. Johnny Messina, we're here again representing the applicant, and says Milburn Partners LLC. As you know, we're seeking preliminary and final site plan approval for a 149-unit inclusionary development located at 249 Milburn Avenue, and more particularly described as Lot 1 and Block 705 on the tax map of the Township of Milburn. The application is before this board pursuant to a Mount Laurel settlement agreement, which was entered into the record as Exhibit A2. At our last meeting, held on May 3rd, we heard extensive testimony from the project civil engineer, John DiGiacinto, of Langdon Engineering. Mr. DiGiacinto concluded his affirmative testimony, answered all questions from the board professionals, and the public. You also heard traffic testimony from Carl Penke, who will return at the next meeting to address relevant issues raised concerning his testimony. Tonight, you'll hear from the project architect, Jack Raker of Minnow Wasco. Additionally, Jonathan Schwartz, the managing principal of the applicant, is here to address rationale for additional parking in the garage, which I know has been the subject of some questions, and any operational questions that the board professionals and the public may have. And at the next meeting, you'll hear testimony from our landscape architect, Jason Tronco, and as mentioned, additional testimony from Mr. Penny. So, Madam Chair, without further ado, I'd like to call Mr. Raker.
We might have a further ado then. Apologies. Especially with regard to the point you made about Mr. Pinky coming back next week, or at our next meeting. I just wanted to ask Mr. Buda to speak to the matter regarding board action on the parking review that the planning board is planning to take, that we discussed at the last meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, the board had requested that we retain an independent traffic expert to undertake a review of the study, the traffic study that was presented by Mr. Penke. The township engineer contacted the retained traffic engineers for the township. There was a proposal submitted to her dated May 15th, 2023. In response to her request, they have set forth the activities that they will undertake, including attendance at the meeting to present their findings. Their proposal has a cost estimate of $3,520. It attaches a sort of a generic summary of the hours that they are counting on in terms of projecting that the project will undertake to justify their proposal. They're going for $160 an hour. Some principal engineer for $125 an hour for the subordinates. The board, under the ordinance, the engineer can make that determination. It can also be made by the board. I would recommend that the board take whatever action they believe that we need that traffic study or directly to secure a proposal for. They should make the motion to undertake this. We should establish a time period for that so that it coincides with our meetings, particularly if Mr. Penke's coming back at our next meeting. Not everybody else will have scheduled for our next meeting.
I already have two on June 7th.
We'll deal with that whenever that's done, so that we can do that all at once. We're not just for one. And I don't know if Martha had any comments on the proposal. That's well outside my.
They did say that they could review all the materials, and of course, all the documents are on the website, so they have access to everything. I did send them the traffic study in particular, so they have that. They can attend the June 7th meeting, but it,
You can't even.
okay. They said they could have something available by June 7th, but they would definitely then be ready by the,
June
when would the
21st.
next meeting be?
June 21st.
June 21st.
Okay.
So they would be able to attend if it's required, that they would have a report ready and we could send it to everyone.
Along those lines, just a reminder about the manhole cover so that the engineer can talk about it.
I had a discussion with our DPW and they were gonna do that this week, so,
Just so you can talk to it, so I don't have to keep going back.
okay.
Who's that question? So this is Brightview,
Right,
Yes.
yes.
Right.
and you referenced the traffic report, just maybe just a question more. They're gonna review the traffic report.
The
That was
traffic
submitted,
impact study that was
Right.
prepared by Langdon, yes.
They're not gonna do a separate report, they're gonna review.
No, they're not gonna go out and do traffic. They're
Right,
gonna
okay.
review
They're just
what was
reviewing.
presented to the board.
Understood, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we did, but we didn't have a proposal, so now we have a proposal, so we
That was my question. If you're going to review the existing study, not conduct an independent study.
So, if desired, we will need a motion to, move forward on Brightview providing a review of the planning process. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Corey Biller,
Yes.
Michael Cohen,
Yes.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes.
Deborah Nevis,
Yes.
Sujatha Shan,
Yes.
Srini BJ,
Yes.
David Cosgrove,
Yes.
Gaston Halbert,
Yes.
Beth Saul.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, without further ado, apologies.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
No problem. Director?
I do. My name is Jack Raker, R-A-K-E-R.
Mr. Raker, can you provide the board with your teaching background, professional credentials, and list of licenses that you
I have a bachelor's of architecture from New Jersey Institute of Technology. I am a registered architect in New Jersey. I have been practicing in this type of architecture, residential design and mixed-use architecture for the past 25 years. I'm a principal in our law school.
And you've been accepted by planning boards around the state of New Jersey. Madam Chair, we respectfully request that Mr. Raker be acknowledged as an expert in the area of architecture, and you are the architecture representative.
I am.
We acknowledge and accept you as a
Thank you.
as long as your license in New
I am-
Jersey is currently active.
Currently licensed in New Jersey.
Fantastic.
Renewing in August.
Thank you.
Mr. Raker, can you please provide the architectural aspects of your work?
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone, my name is Chris Enterprise. We're very proud of the project we put together here for you tonight. I'm excited to show you all of the aspects. So, what you're looking at here on the left, and I'll get to the perspective used shortly. And we'll concentrate mainly on the plan and how the plan operates and functions, and then I'll move upward through the building.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
so
smiling at Mr. Raker, I was able to get Mr. Richard Scallan's attention, but I wasn't able to get Mr. Raker's attention. So we marked each exhibit, and I'd like you to refer to those to the records,
Sure.
what you're referring to. So we're up to, if my notes are right, A8. would be-
Yeah, and Mr. Raker, how many exhibits do you have? If that,
No.
so it's not exhibits, if you want, we can pre-mark them now.
So why don't we do that, and this way then we don't have to stop, the testing will be much more fluid. And then you can describe them as he goes along.
Yes.
Let's mark them all. So
That was the point.
A8 through A16, you said we had 9.
Oh, yeah, no, oh, we had 9. I thought he said, I thought he had 8, got it.
And Mr. Rager, as you testifying, just reference the exhibit and just describe what the exhibit is, so the record's clear.
Sure, and then for the record, the exhibits shown are just colored versions of what's been submitted to the board. There are new exhibits that are going to be. We're looking at exhibit A8. It's the ground floor plan, sheet A02 in the architectural set. So I'm sure the engineer sort of oriented you in his testimony, over out to the bottom, that's here, and then the railroad tracks to the rear of the project. We have our drop off right here in front of the building, and then garage access off of that drop off area. There are 2 ways into this drop off area. You can pull in here if you need to drop somebody off or pick somebody up, or if you're dropping packages, any number of things that happen in front of these buildings, dropping off food and items of that nature. Easy access to the stairs, access to the lobby, and you're there, and there's somebody in the lobby to receive these items. Alternate access is through this point right here. If you're going to the garage, you go right into this access here, into the garage. Garage doors are back here, recessed, and then access going through. This area here is an open areaway. It's open to the sky. It's a space between the garage and the building, the residential building. Allows us to get free air movement through the garage space, through the garage. This pink area here, this is the amenity space, lobby, and leasing area. This is really the hub of activity for the whole building. The remaining color here, and you'll see as we go up through the building, you'll see this color, it's the hallways, and then the residential units that surround it. But this is the hub of activity. This is where residents go. If you're going to be a future tenant, you go, you see a leasing agent, you come in, you probably pull up, find out where to park. They give you access. You can go in and park inside the lobby, and then you can access through these doors here, access the residential lobby, be a leasing agent. Regular tenants likely won't enter through this lobby. They'll likely go right to the garage. They'll drive to their floor, park on their floor, and then access through the doors. There's 2 locations they can access through the garage, here and here, and they access the residential building in that direction. This building is somewhat unique in that it's offset because of grading. You have one area that's lower and one area that's a little raised up a little bit. So this portion of the building, I'll show you when we get to the roof plan, this portion of the building is raised up, this portion is a little bit lower. But the amenity space is great. They do all sorts of amenities, fitness, co-work space, lounge space, places for people to gather. Co-work spaces are very popular, like little cubbies, areas where you can get work done. you don't, a lot of people work from home now, there's, you know, a lot of places going on in there. So you could, relax, come down here, see some activity, if you don't wanna work in your apartment, you see other people working, it's almost like being in an office environment, but you're essentially at home. There's little private areas, you can make phone calls and have a meeting, and you're not disturbing. Fitness is very popular. There's fitness on demand centers where, you know, it's just essentially a screen and it does different classes. Another very popular reason. We also have as an amenity on the exterior, this will be done by landscape architect, dog run, and I'm sure we'll have a dog wash facility, so they can do that there. Just a little housekeeping. The building is under the allowable height of 48 feet, 45 feet, 4 inches. Calculated from first floor to the roof. It is fully sprinkled, and all spaces are adapted in this building. We have a total of 149 units, 150 are allowed, and we have, I'll just give you the mix now. We have 7 studios, 57 one-bedrooms, 79 two-bedrooms, and 6 3-bedrooms. So within that mix, there's some low and moderate units, and those low and moderate units are mixed as follows: 1 bedroom, 6, 2 bedrooms, we have 18, and 3 bedrooms, we have 6. Those low and moderate units are spread throughout. There's low and moderate units on this end, there's low and moderate units here, and low and moderate units here. All low and moderate units have a door right next to them that is a market rate unit. So these low and moderate units are right across from market rate units. There's all mingled together and mixed together. So, like I said here, there's a sort of a split in floor areas. This area is lower than this area here. But it's all fully accessible. What we have is a split stop elevator. So if you want to access one floor level to another, you can go in the elevator and then out the other side. The other side is access to a space that's about 5 feet. You don't have to do an internal ramping. Trash. At the ground floor here, we have a large trash room over here. And that's in the dark gray area. In that area, stacked above is another trash room on each floor. So every tenant takes their trash out of their unit, they walk it down to the trash room, they open up the chute, they drop their trash in, it goes down to the trash room, and it gets put in a compactor and comes out in a sausage container, a little 2-yard container. And then at trash time, those 2-yard containers are rolled out to the trash location, we picked up, and then we moved right back in the building. That's all scheduled.
Quick question about that. What about recycling?
Recycling is managed the same way. So, and again, I'm not sure whether we've decided a tri-sorter. So tri-sorter. So essentially there's one chute, you go up, you hit a button, it's recycling, then you put your recycling down, and it goes down into the recycling. Just separates it down at the bottom of the, little mechanical places going up straight together. Move-ins, again, are managed. There's a move-in staging area over here. It's close in proximity to the loading area. People will pull their truck up, unload their truck into the moving staging area. They can unload the contents of their truck and store it there. They can then pull away and move in. A lot of times move-ins are scheduled, so you don't want to rent your truck and take it for a whole weekend. Take time, move in, move your stuff, and then move out. And then, again, a landscape architect, it's all of these. This amenity space fronts on a nice landscape courtyard. It's an outdoor amenity, fire pits, things of that nature. But the landscape architect will go into that. I'm going to move on to A9. This is a typical second through fourth floor plan. The plans are identical. Through the floors, there may be a difference in the unit type.
What sheet is that? I know it's A9, but you identified the earlier sheet.
Yeah, sure. Sheet A03 in the.
Did you do that when you identified it, which is sure.
As you can see, the only difference in this plan and the plan below is there's no amenity space here, it's been filled in with units. And you can see in this area, if you look on your plans, you see there's a transition elevator, a through elevator that allows you to transition between the 5-foot difference between this side and this side, and a stair that takes you down as well. And we go to the roof line. You can see here, this is where the difference in the roof heights are. Right here, we have on the roof many of the condensing units. There's 3 by 18-inch condensing units. They're placed usually generally over the hallways, so the midway in the building, if you're standing on street level, you're not going to be able to see these. We have a parapet that pops up above the roof height, so you're not going to see any of these.
Thanks, and the roof line is A10.
Also,
For an
A10,
and it's sheet
sheet 804 on the architectural side. Yes, move on. And actually, I'm going to skip these next few just real quick. I'm going to go to, I want to talk a little bit about the garage. We have 324 garage parking spaces. We're going to follow the state mandated 50% spaces. We haven't identified the locations. Usually what happens, we locate electric rooms, we locate areas that it's easier to get conduit, and then we identify those EV spaces during the doing schematic design and design development. But we will have the required amount of 15%. When you're in the garage has a crash barrier that's up above headlight, so if cars are driving around at night, they're not shining headlights out into the surrounding area, it's going to be blocked. And essentially, if there's any breakdowns in the garage, you need to get a tow truck in there. They have low clearance tow trucks that can get in the garage and tow trucks out. You don't need one of those crane ones to come in. Because of parking garages, these things are more different. I'm going to skip the elevations just because I'm going to talk more to the perspectives. I might go back to them. We're looking at Exhibit A12, Sheet A07 in the submitted set. These are parking. This is the sections through the building. I want to note these that you're not going to see this garage in any of the main streets on the both side. It's fully surrounded by building on 3 sides. Again, this is sheet A13 of the sections, and they do show that the garage is surrounded, except on the one side, which is supposed to be. That was sheet A08 in the submitted set. This is sheet A4, exhibit A14, sheet A09 is the big set. These are typical unit plans. As I said, we have a mix of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, and 1 bedroom dens. Showing a mixture of that here. All of the units are appointed in the same method. If we're putting granite countertops here, in the market rate unit, we're putting granite countertops in the low moderate unit. So we're all appointed the same way. You wouldn't be able to tell one from the other. This is a 3-bedroom low moderate unit. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath unit. Show the bathrooms here. 2 bedrooms, master, large living space, nice diagonal, 2 floors of glass, and the living space. Very nice. You can walk into this apartment. I'm going to now go over to the perspective renderings, talk a little bit about the elevations. I'll go back because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions about all sides. The perspective renderings only really show the public streets. So I'll go back to the elevations a little bit later.
So we're looking at exhibit A15. It's not numbered in the submitted set, it's just called concept perspective from the building. What we've tried to do here is try to really break the scale of the building down and give it a really nice brownstone urban edge feel. We've added entries at the lower level, private entries and scoops to some of the units. And then we've grouped above those entries, we've grouped this sort of character of a brownstone with a pitched roof. And then allowed this color at the roof to sort of break down the scale of the building, reducing the height, the aesthetic height of the building. We were really excited about this look. We knew it was a nice, classy, beautiful look for the area. All high quality materials, brick, hardy siding, metal, steady Z metal roofs, nice entries, metal canopies for the entries for all the units that get an entry. And we think the building has a great presence. And what I'm going to do now is this perspective renderings. I'm going to move around toward the entry of the building. This one gets a little bit closer, a little bit more direct view. You can see the materials a lot better. I brought some of the materials with me tonight. We have a white brick, beautiful white brick, and then a dark gray, very dark gray brick here. We're going to use a nice lighter wrap to sort of tie it in with the white brick. And with that contrast in the dark brick, the light white ground in the light brick and the white brick. Horizontal, this is a hardy siding up top. Here it's a cementitious type siding. It's made from recycled material and concrete. Create a nice vertical element right at the corner. As you're driving from one direction to another, it allows you to really identify the building. And you can see the sidewalk as it travels around to the front entry. I'm sorry, this is
A16.
This is A16. It's called Concept Perspective from Milton Avenue 2. This is a perspective view of the entry. It's labeled Exhibit A17. It's concept perspective from Essex Street. And you can see this is a view of the main entry, the stairs going up to the main entry. This is all not accessible. We've been able to hide a nice adaptable ramp right around the corner. It makes the building fully accessible. See a nice entry, how it's appointed in materials. Again, we have private entries along some of the units that face there, so that character is brought around to the entry side of the building. Same materials going around the building as we saw in the previous perspective. I'm going to grab the materials right now. I do actually, I lied before, I do have an exhibit. It's part of the material. They're all free, so I'm just going to bring them up and you can pass them around. Start over here.
Why don't you, Mr. Ricker, why don't you just describe, take each one, describe it to the board and look at that, so that we're not, I don't think there's a need to mark these.
Okay.
Just describe it.
So this is the white brick. It's a through white brick. White, it's not glazed. The color is all the way through and through. So there's no, it doesn't look nice over certain many years. This brick will maintain it the same. And it's the same with this gray brick. It's a beautiful through gray brick. Not glazed, it's not going to chip and change color. These are the 3 hardy samples.
sheet with made from concrete and recycled paper fiber. I think it's sawdust. And it's great renewable material. So the other thing I wanted to mention is this building, over and above what's code, it's a fully sprinkled building. We're not required to do it. This client just has a practice that all his buildings are, they do fully sprinkled. So it's a great thing to do over and above.
Yeah, just so you
Now, I know everybody's interested in what the garage looks like. We don't have a perspective, but we do have some elevation. And I do have an extra exhibit that we're marked. Well, I thought it was questions. I know it's in your submitted set. I do want to hand this out. This will be an exhibit. I guess it's exhibit we're on.
AAT.
So I have to mark each one as materials. They're just a photo image of the screen that we're going to use on the garage.
No, just, if it's a package, just mark it one.
I brought enough to give to everybody, but I can just mark one.
Let's mark one.
I'll pass this around. It's a material called flex facades, and it's a screening material. It comes in a variety of densities, colors, and you need to get something printed on it if you wanted to do it. It's a great screening material. In the daylight, you don't see through the screen because it's a very fine mesh that's there. You do when you're inside the garage, you're able to see out because it's lighter, and it's the reverse at night. At night, if the lights are on in the garage, you see a soft glow behind the material coming through. It's a really attractive material. I think it adds a great look to the garages.
And where is that placed?
It's on the garage elevation. So in the submitted set, there's garage elevation, and we call out the facade, the screening material, and I'm just handing out a sort of a photo of it being used in another garage. It's a better way to see it. If I were on a tiny piece of screen, it's hard to visualize what it might look like. This photo really shows you what it might look like.
That's also along the back?
Yeah, that's along the train tracks.
Okay.
So along the train tracks, we have the garage exposed, and then for screening on the garage, so to give it some architectural style and feel, we're going to use this flex facades. Variegated color and very nice pattern. And you can see how it was used in this photograph. I think they're coming up with the me, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that concludes, Mr. Rick's affirmative testimony.
Great. Questions from the board for the architect?
Maybe you can start with the A18. You see that's what the side of the parking garage is going to look exactly like that.
It's not
That
going to
same
look
color.
exactly like that, and not that color. We're gonna vary the screening just so that you get the blocking of that color. We haven't selected color yet. There's the nice thing about this facade is there's a lot of flexibility. So we could do color blocking. We could do images of trees. We could do any number of things on that facade. So, but we feel that in general, I think because of the geometry of the facade, the black and the white, breaking up the mass of the building, this was very close. It's why, so that's this image. That's this. We could variegate the black and the white to make sort of mimic the
And that's just on the side that faces the road.
just on the side of the face.
And that, the parking garage on the side facing the railroad tracks, how much taller than the grade of the railroad is it? So if you're on the other side of the railroad tracks, how many, you're seeing 3 floors if I'm standing on the other side of the tracks, of that garage?
You know, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the height, relative height of the railroad tracks versus the garage. The civil engineer might be better to answer my question. But the finished floor, the garage is under the 48 feet.
Now, you testified that you were shooting for an urban edge.
Well, we wanted to create this urban edge along Milburn Avenue. And we did that by creating those nice scoops and sort of scaling down the building in this sort of traffic.
And are you pulling that urban edge theme from somewhere else in town?
No, I'm not. I mean, you can see the fabric of the downtown has an urban feel. So the scale is down, but it's more. This is a suburban area, but it's a downtown. There's a sidewalk, street.
Can I keep going? Hey, I don't wanna, next, the questions on the ground floor plan, and I have it as 802, but I don't know what you've marked it today as.
It's 802, you're saying 802, it's 802 on
Ground floor plan.
sheet A8, exhibit A8.
Exhibit A8, so looking at exhibit A8, point out for me where the fair share units are.
We have one here,
Okay.
we have one here,
That whole section of the building.
here, we have one here, along the front.
Mr. Raker, I'm
Sorry.
sorry, when you're testifying, I know this is hard, because you're looking at a picture, and you're just pointing here to here.
Sure.
When you read that in the transcript, nobody has a clue as to what you're talking about, so.
So the northern leg of the building, along the entry drive, we have low and moderate units located there. The southern edge along Milburn Avenue with the scoops, we have we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 low and moderate units. And then along the back, along the landscape walk, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 low and moderate units. Now, they stack up through the building in some areas, and some areas they don't. But in any circumstance, the neighbor across the hall is a market rate. So you can't tell the difference. There's no way to tell the difference. In fact, if you walk through the units, you wouldn't think.
Let's start at the top, the left part of the exhibit.
Mhm.
So those are all on the first floor and they all face the road, correct?
They do not face the unit. It is into the landscape area.
The back of them is facing, is there anything?
There is no,
No
this is
windows
the
back there?
hallway. Yeah, this is the hallway.
And then on the I'm guessing the right side of the exhibit,
Mhm.
so that's gonna be northeast, I guess, then?
That's, I would say northeast.
Northeast, so let's see, the east side. Those units are facing the dog park, right?
Well, the dog runs down here by the garage. They're facing the landscape walkway.
Now, so how many low and moderate units are on the first floor? I have 16 of them, I think.
We got 15 unless I missed one.
Okay, so I could be wrong, 15. And then, on the floors above the first floor is, my count was 6. I'm sorry, how many?
I'm just checking, yeah, 15, oh, wait, no, 16, I have one on the airport.
And then at the floors above that, there's 6 on each floor.
I believe so. I believe this one may turn at the top floor to a 2-bedroom, but I'll have to check that in the Yes, that's good.
And those 6 are all on the dog run side of their building?
Correct. They're stacked above the units.
Okay.
That
Now
particular
there's-
side of the building has a certain dimension for a certain width unit.
And on the second floor on up, in the northeast corner, I've been told the facing the railroad tracks, facing the tracks up, there's no, low income units above the first floor in that building. Let me come back to make it, I have a couple more, but.
Sure thing, we can turn to others who have questions
Yeah,
about
no,
the architecture.
Excuse me, can I just follow up on something Mr. Cosgrove mentioned? If my count is right, we have 22 of the 30 floor deals, so am I correct that the other 8 are on the third floor, or you have 4 on the third floor, 4 on the fourth floor? Since we got to 22, can we get to the balance?
So there's 16 on the ground floor.
16 on the ground and 4 on the shelves.
Oh,
That's
so
6 on
the
each
floor,
of
I thought you
us.
said 6,
Six
I'm
on each.
sorry.
That's
Can you go through the thing?
But, so, that's one too many, I believe. At the top floor, this unit becomes a market rate.
So we have 16 on the first floor.
Yes.
Sorry, 16.
Okay.
616.
How many on the second floor?
6.
6 on the second floor. That's 22.
22.
There's only 30.
So we're short 8. Where's the other 8? That's all.
600.
What about the fourth floor?
We have 2 floors to get 8 units. So I'm just trying to figure out where those 8 units are.
So, no, I just did the second through fourth floor. So, like I said, at this point, this unit drops out to become a market rate unit.
On the top.
On the top floor, and I believe the floor below
Yeah.
gives me COVID for
So 16 on the first, 6 on the second, 4 full.
5.
Okay. You're still too many. You need, you only get 30.
You can put as many
We
as you
get
like.
32.
Fair share, I love that. We sure would.
You're testifying that there will be.
No, if you get 16, 6, 4, 4.
Yeah, that's it, 16, 6, 4, 4. That's correct. So this unit drops out, and this unit becomes a 2-bedroom.
Is there a reason why, you don't have the square footages on the market rate units on the plans? You have them on some of the low and moderate ones, and then is there a reason why your low and moderate ones, for instance, the 3-bedroom over here, or the other 3 bedrooms, although you say square footage, don't have the breakout of what the plan looks like, the floor plan itself?
So, I'm sorry, let's go back to the first one.
Right, but, so like, I'm looking at the ground floor right now, it says 3-bedroom, 970.5 square feet. I don't see the entrance to get into the unit itself, and I don't see the floor plan on it. And then next to it is the 3-bedroom for 1150 square feet, that doesn't have the floor plan on it either, right?
Correct.
There. And I'm curious about why that is, and the 3-bedroom over on the railroad track side, as
Yeah.
well as how come the market rate units don't have their square footage?
To answer your first question, we can design every unit, we design typicals for each unit. So if I'm giving you a 3-bedroom unit, it's the 3-bedroom low and moderate unit. The market rate units are interchangeable for the most part, the 2-bedroom and the 1-bedroom. There might be slight differences in mix, but the layouts are the same. So I didn't really change I didn't provide those as separate unit plans. I'm just providing typicals for what these units are.
Well, since this is part of the fair share housing obligation that we are required to take care of, I'm just curious as to why you clustered all the affordable housing units together. And maybe, Mr. Pettit, could you speak to this for us, maybe on this? Because we have an obligation, of course, and how will fair share look at this, the way these units are all clustered together?
If you want me to.
You do have a response, it's fine.
I'll just refer to, just the comment that I have in my planning report, the first affordable comment that I have. Requesting that the applicant from his testimony provides the board their guidance in reviewing the application as presented, for compliance with Millburn DRZ's
appears as if they've been segregated. That is the point. It appears, in my opinion, and it is, that they've been segregated from the rest of the units rather than interspersed within the units. That's my opinion. So that somebody walks into a building, oh, that's the lower level. That's the lower level. And I think they could be easily, that's why I'm asking for the square footages, because I think they could easily be integrated into, if this is a two-bedroom over here, why not switch this moderate two-bedroom so that it's all mixed in, so people don't know which ones are the lower and moderate, especially since you're putting in the same features, whether it's granite or they'll all have the same amount of upgrades. And then also I have a question about, this is the seventh studio down over here on the that's the seventh studio. How are the people that are living on the ground floor in these low and moderate units how are they to access the garage?
There's a hallway that goes around back here, down through here, that crosses the drive-on, and then into the century building. There's doors that access to the living room.
And if you lived on the second floor, you don't have to go up.
You know, this is undercover, the garage is fully undercover, so yeah, you do have to walk across.
But they don't, the second, third, fourth floor, so
Second,
that'd be
third.
easy access that the low and moderate people have on the ground.
Second, third floors have a hallway like this, it just doesn't go through across the garage. So, I mean, I can see your point, if we put all the low and moderate units in this wing, all the way up, and not just the low and moderate wing, I don't understand the point, but we integrated them throughout the project.
No, you haven't. They're all in the same area. They're all clustered in the same area.
We put them all on here, and we put them over here, and we put them
But
over
they're
here.
not interspersed on, in my opinion, they're not interspersed on the floor. They are clustered together in one area.
I can tell you I've designed hundreds of projects like this all over the state of New Jersey. This would be considered dispersed in wherever I've done.
So, Mr. Ray, if I may, just a couple of questions for Mr. Raker, okay?
That's clarifying questions, yes, you can't provide testimony. You
No, I-
were just
I-
asking, sure.
Yeah. So, Mr. Raker, once again, just for the clarity of the record, can you specify the different areas of the building in which the units are located?
Sure, so there's area here.
What's here?
Here's
From the exhibit, sir,
east
and
of the building.
So, all
I'm
right,
I'm pointing to sheet two, area two, exhibit A8,
okay.
to the east.
So, to the east is where?
East is,
Is that
along
along
the
the,
right-hand side of the building, along the adjacent property, along the landscape line.
they have units over there? Where else in the building do you have units?
I also have units along Milburn Avenue at the ground floor,
Okay,
and I have units along this line at the ground floor.
so is it fair to say that you have described that there are affordable units on every side of the building?
There are, and there also is one on the internal courtyard.
So you have units on every side of the building?
Correct.
Is that consistent with other developments of similar nature that you have been the registered architect of record for?
Yes. Right.
Many?
Many.
I don't have any further questions.
I have a question, if I might. Mr. Raker, Mr. Messino asked you about the location of the market unit, the affordable units. And you established that there's 16 affordable units on the first floor. And then you pointed out the three sections in which they were located. Can you go through each of those sections and tell us how many affordable is in that section, since they're pretty much identified, and how many market are in that same, on that same plane, on the same floor?
So, I mean, if I'm gonna take this end of the building,
Milburn, let's take the
Milburn,
Milburn Avenue
Milburn.
section.
we have 1, 2, 3. Market rate,
How many?
5. If, you know, I'm not gonna count this one, I'm gonna count one along Milburn Avenue and then the ones on the other side of the hall.
That's fine.
So we have 5 along, Milburn Avenue,
That's 5 affordable,
5.
and how many market? Let's just stay in the same place.
7.
Let's move then to the east side.
I have on the east side, I have 5 affordable. I'd say, I'm gonna say 2, market.
And on the,
I should count this one, because we have an affordable on this leg.
okay, that's,
So I have 1 affordable on this leg, and 1, 2, 3 market. And then here, on the north leg with the train, I have 5 affordable and 1 market. So, but in all of these, when you're in a hallway, there's units on both sides of a hallway. Your neighbor directly across from you, the door you open every day and say hi to, they're fully mixed, you can't tell. We don't put a different door on one, we fully amenitize them the same.
Is there any way? Madam Chair, if we could, this gentleman in the second row behind the witness is talking to him during his testimony. He jumped up a minute ago and was saying, I prefer that not occur. The witness is testifying, let's get his testimony. I don't know who that guy is,
Okay,
and he's not under oath.
okay, no problem. Thank you.
So, Mr. Raker, someone coming into the building, going down home, is there any way that anyone would know or be able to distinguish an affordable unit from a market rate?
No, and I would say even if you went into the unit, you couldn't distinguish between a market rate and an affordable unit.
So then what Ms. Deborah has.
So I think my question is not so much about whether you can tell which apartment is which. I think it's more the placement for me. And what I'm noticing is that most of the low and moderate income apartments face Melbourne Avenue. There are very few that are facing the landscaped courtyard. Most, and that's on the Melbourne Avenue side. On the far east side of the building, most of those, the low and moderate income units are facing the parking lot of the building next door. And then most of the low and moderate income units are on the first floor of the northern component of the building. So my question is why there aren't a plethora or more low and moderate income units that are surrounding that landscaped courtyard. There's only a one bedroom low and moderate unit on that first floor that's interior. Everything else, all the other low and moderate income units appear to be exterior in what, having lived in apartment buildings for a long time, would to me seem like a noisier part of the building. If you're on the street side, if you're on the railroad side, if you're next to a parking lot, there's going to be more noise than potentially if you're on the interior surrounding the courtyard.
I don't lease these units, but I can tell you as a designer who designs these units for the past 25 years. There are dimensional constraints in the building that force me to put units in certain locations. And then we try to amenitize all areas of the building so that wherever you are, whether you're in a courtyard, and same argument you make to the courtyard. The courtyard is narrow and dark, and you want to look into a courtyard, if you want to have a more bright south-facing unit. There's pluses and minuses to every location in the building. And I can tell you that, in designing many of these buildings, sometimes there's a dimensional constraint, and I utilize that dimensional constraint to get the units to stack, and it makes it easier for construction.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, the board doesn't have, the applicant has discretion to place units where it desires, so long as it complies with the ordinance. I think the characterization that the units are clustered is grossly inaccurate. That's not an accurate characterization. They're on all sides of the units.
all sides of the building. Our position is that the placement of the units complies with the ordinance. The regulation that was recited was not mandatory, the word was encouraged. The applicant has exercised its discretion legally in accordance with the ordinance and in accordance with code regulations. And we will also, as a condition of approval, agree that we will comply with all relevant laws that are applicable to the project. So our position is, frankly, that this is now really becoming more of a legal issue and not an architectural issue. And our position legally is that we have complied with the ordinance and we have complied with the code regulations with respect to the placement of the units.
Thank you. I hear that. Can I ask one clarifying question of the architect just regarding that statement? I just want to make sure I'm understanding the northern leg that's closest to the railroad track on the first floor. There are 5 affordable units. Are they in succession? Do they all? You mentioned something about you go and your next door neighbor is not. That was your testimony. I just want to clarify that section.
In this section, the only market rate unit is the studio.
And then, so then there's 5 immediately adjacent
Yeah.
units that are affordable. That, I could clarify that. I would qualify that as a cluster, but I would also agree with your statement that they're not all clustered, they are dispersed, but in that one segment, I would identify 5 consecutive units as a cluster. Just to characterize that as close and accurate statement. I think there's some
Well,
accuracy to it, but
I think
in
the
the
statement
context
was that they
of the
were
full-
all clustered, and I think that's
just
not
wanted to
correct.
clarify
But there is a
that.
grouping, there is a
There's a
grouping.
grouping. Here we go. Maggie, did you have a follow-up question?
I'd really like to know the square footages of, I really mean this, I'd love to know what the square footages of all the units, because
I can provide it.
I think that's important because, in my opinion, and to Deborah's opinion, the units that are marked low and moderate are, all sitting together, I call it clusters, as groups, clusters in this group. And we just want to make sure that while you're in compliance, the town has to be in compliance.
Yes,
as
of
well.
course.
And if fair share housing doesn't include this, because I don't think they like things clustered together, that could be a problem for the town.
We talked about the first units on one
Second, we just ask for, we need to shut the microphone.
Can't hear.
On the second floor, third floor, and fourth floor, we have 14 units total. Can you just tell us where those are located on those floors as related to market units? Because it's obviously a lot less affordable, so I assume there's a lot more involved.
Sure, they're located on the, referencing, Exhibit A8, Exhibit A02, on the eastern side of the building.
Okay, so on the second, third, and fourth floor, there's six on the second floor, 4 on the third floor, 4 on the fourth floor, and they're all oriented toward the east, on the east wing, oriented toward the parking
Correct.
lot and the shopping center actually.
Correct.
Okay,
Right next to each other,
They're adjacent, across from the market rate.
so 4 clusters together.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't see it as a facing or
appreciate
this. I see it as this is a grouping, right? This right here, and you have market rate units in this cluster. These are market rate units directly across the hall. So on the upper floors, this is a market rate unit as well.
I appreciate that, I'm just saying that the market rate units on the upper floors that are not facing a parking lot, the 4 units that are on these upper floors are clustered together right next to each other, even though they're across from market rates. But the market rate does not look out onto parking lot, those 4 do.
Yeah, so one of
Third
the
and fourth
reasons,
floor.
one of the reasons for that is the dimensionality of the side, we want these units to stack. So that the bathroom stack, or the plumbing riser stack, kitchen stack, makes it easier.
I appreciate that.
So I got a question, why don't make one of those market and move the affordable housing to the other side?
Well,
like I said, there's a dimensionality to these.
But it doesn't matter,
units.
like, just switch them. Dimensionality doesn't matter.
It actually, it does matter, well, because you have a run of units. And if I take another unit and put it over here, it won't close out.
Well, I think you're saying change the
Just change
designation.
it, yeah.
Change the designation from
Make it two
market to lower moderate as opposed to the size.
I mean,
Because we don't know the size of the units, and if they knew the size of the units, that's why they can't do it, because the market rate units are gonna be bigger than the low and moderate ones, so it's all they stack them together. But the
Okay,
rest,
excuse me. Can you, I'm gonna turn
You
it
may.
into a question. And I assume you heard the question, sorry. That is, are the market rate units larger, same unit, one bedroom, two bedroom, three bedroom? I guess there's no three bedroom market. One bedroom and two bedroom market, are those larger than the one and two bedroom before?
most of the market rate units are larger than the low and moderate.
And is that typical in projects of this type?
Very typical, right?
But despite the fact that they're small, the amenities are the same, carpeting, appliances,
Carpeting.
Yeah,
Well, I told you, I don't
want to go out.
That's already been
No
established.
carpeting.
I'm back there.
All resilient flooring, with the LVP flooring, and,
Yeah, they're all similar appliances inside. Like I said, if you were to walk through these apartments and they were all empty, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You might see, well, this apartment feels a little smaller, maybe, but they're all livable sizes.
Following up on Mr. Lutino's question, is it typical in your experience, because you've done a lot of projects, affordable projects, inclusionary projects, many projects, is it typical that the affordable unit has the same amenities, flooring, not carpeting, countertops, appliances, as the market units, or in some cases, have you had experiences where those units, while still having the same amenity, i.e. refrigerator, countertop, flooring, are of a different level or a different quality?
The answer is yes. There are other clients who don't develop, or they go to a lower finish on their affordables. In fact, here in this project, a two-bedroom, many clients build a two-bedroom, one bath for affordable. Bathrooms are expensive. Or a three-bedroom, one bath unit. This client does not do that. They go two-bed, two-bath, low and moderate units, and two-bath, three-bath.
Thank you.
and that is over and above what would be required.
Over and above what we require.
do any of the market rate units have the student?
Yes. Yes. We have one
The market
one
rate,
market rate unit here. Yes, this market rate unit here.
there's the one,
Just the one,
and then the rest are all the one models.
and the rest is our one model. The street is actually an amenity, it gives you direct street access. It's actually a benefit, and, I would love to have a street access apartment personally, versus an upper.
Is that a two, I'm sorry, is that a two entry,
Yes, you can access from the rear,
like from the hallway?
and from the street.
How many total units are there in the first floor? Can you repeat the question, David?
How many total units are in the first floor?
I'm getting 29.
29 and 6.
Approximately 20.
Okay, which is 16 of them are local.
Correct.
And you don't think that's a plus then?
No.
Okay.
I don't, there are studies for all of this.
Question.
Yes, I guess on.
No, it's more of a comment, just if there are some desirable, why on the streets only affordables? You know, it's like you're telling me, you're testifying that it's more desirable, and I really feel like you're not being quite honest with this here. And like, just tell me, why are the streets only affordables except for one?
It's because they will allow for units to make the lower ones affordable. Many of those units have scoops. Majority.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is discretion on the applicant to designate whichever units it wants as market rates or affordable, so long as they are compliant with the ordinance. The ordinance does not specify how many or where, or what the ordinance says interdispersed. And these units are, there may be some groupings of affordable units where there are groupings with market rate units as well. But I think it would be unfair to say that they're not interdispersed throughout the project, because they are, and that's all the ordinance says. The ordinance doesn't say anything more than that, and our position is, and I think this is really evolved into a legal issue, is that what is being presented complies with the ordinance in terms of what the developer's preferences are, or where the developer exercises its discretion. That's up to the developer. That's not up to the board, and there is no standard there. That's the developer's call, it's the developer's project.
Okay. Please ask the questions, and then I'm eager to also get to the questions from the public to allow sufficient time as well. But that's okay, so.
No,
yes,
go
I'm
ahead,
finished.
go ahead.
Okay.
Well, my questions are not related to affordable housing. So,
Are they architectural?
they're architectural in nature, but, okay. So you had testified that the height of the building is 45 feet. Is that a consistent 45 feet? Is that 45 feet on Milburn Ave? Where is that 45 feet?
It's measured from the finished floor to the roof, so it's consistent.
Okay, so each
45
side.
feet, 4 inches is the height from the finished floor to the roof.
Okay, so one of our major goals in 2018, there was a amendment of the Milburn master plan. And one of the points of that is to make sure and protect the character of the neighborhood as things were changing. One of the things that we got in comments from Milburn residents was they wanted to make sure that new developments and alterations to existing developments were not out of character with the existing neighborhoods. And so in the master plan, it says any developments of new buildings should be appropriately scaled to existing residential neighborhoods. Now, based on your testimony, you clearly appreciate that the scale of this building is not consistent with where it's located, which is right across from single-family homes. Because you testified that you were going to use materials and other things to visually minimize the scale of the building. I have a particular concern, just to be transparent, with the 4-story aspect right on Milburn Ave, which is only 10 feet from Milburn Avenue, right across from single-family home residential neighborhood. If you go through our downtown, this is the only building that's 4 stories, and it's right across from the residential neighborhood. Is there anything else that could be done to adjust the scale, at least in front there on Milburn Ave, where it sort of abuts right across the street from the residential neighborhood with single-family homes, which is probably 18 to 20 feet in total.
Yeah, again, it's, we're building, what we proposed complies with your ordinance. I mean, the question is, can we make it smaller? Of course. Okay, but that's not really the question. The question is, does this building comply with your ordinance? The ordinance that was.
That's a zoning ordinance, not a planning board. So I'm
Well,
talking about.
we have a right to build our project and our building in conformity with your ordinance.
Mhm.
And that's what we've done.
I think, Mr. Luciano, the question was asked of the architect, is there anything that can be done to reduce the scale? You took that, the question wasn't directed to you, you took that as, well, yes, make the building short. That wasn't the question. Maybe the architect can answer it. If he can't answer it, if he says, hey, there's nothing I can do. 4 stories is 4 stories, no matter how you slice it, and I can't do anything else. That may be his answer. His answer may otherwise be, well, you know what, maybe we can do this. and we
So
can
for
do
example,
this, and we
like
can
on the
change
4th
this.
Well,
floor,
but-
maybe
but-
step back
but
or
it's-
something.
But it's not, it's a, I mean, I think that's a question that is not for the architect to answer.
I would like to offer the architect the opportunity to answer the question.
Well, I don't want the architect to make representations to the board on behalf of the client without conferring with the client on an issue such
As a
as that.
professional
Okay,
who
so
has
that's,
accepted by
so
the
that's
board, you
where,
can do that.
so that's really what my objection is. You know, can you only, you can tinker with any building, you know, to reduce scale, whatever that means, that's a subjective, you know, question, because if you're not talking about height, if you're not talking about conformance with the ordinance, then you're in the realm of subjectivity. And I don't want to put the architect in the position of where he's answering those types of questions without conferring with the.
That's fine, Mr. Lucino, we had it, the very first thing you did was give me all of his credentials, and we had him sworn in as an architect who could speak and could answer the question and could represent his client, so I would like to offer him the opportunity to respond to us as the board, asking a question, and his question.
My answer is somewhat simple. I'm sure we've done it. I've essentially designed the aesthetics of a three-story building. We were always very sensitive to the four-story height in this design. That's why we created the strong three-story element with that roof element. And then colored that building at the top level to the same. I think when you see this building, when you drive them, you actually see it. You're going to be very surprised at the scale and how it feels. You know, we think for a building of the size, the first-story multifamily building, we've done a great job of breaking that scale down and feeling like a three-story building with a roof and some dormers, and then breaking down the mass of the building horizontally by creating the stoops, the private entries, and the individual sort of vertical units. But I think that you're asking what more you can do. If I brought something else in here, and then the following time brought this back, you go, oh, now you've done it. You've done what we've asked you to do. But I think, you know, you're asking maybe is there one more thing you could do. I think beyond changing the actual volume of the building, no. We've done the best we can to bring the scale.
Well, so what I was gonna ask, because you had mentioned changing the volume of the building. Obviously, you can, that would be a big task, I'm not suggesting that you do that. But is there a way to design, so is there a way to design, for example, the courtyard, if you had the higher elevation? How many stories are on the back end of courtyards by the
It's the same for all areas, for just steps in the side.
So it's still 45 feet?
Still 45 feet finished floor. 45 feet.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Zach.
Can you speak to the design and development?
I think that's better for a traffic engineer, civil engineer to do the layout.
Well, the civil engineer was here last week.
Oh, it did? No. Was there maybe
The civil engineer outlined all things outside the building as he typically would do. Talked about circulation, dimensions, the driveway, the extensive testimony about the driveway, how that functions. There were
There were
also,
two points raised in the police department assessment, and the police department says that the shape and size of the driveway create the potential for multiple adverse effects on neighbors. And says it is the department's opinion that the proposed driveway size and shape are not adequate. I'm just wondering, so we're just concerned about, stopping, standing, and the middle and picking up on Essex Middle, Can we just address?
yeah, that question was addressed extensively by the engineer. We talked about the distance into the building. I just refer to the record. That's not a question respectfully for the architect.
Okay, we're gonna take a 2-minute pause, because, members have to step out for a moment. But the response to that question, for the record, is that is not a question. So was your understanding that the engineer directed you to the architect on that question?
I thought that he wouldn't testify directly to that.
We can take it.
We'll take a pause, but I think we have another, right at the apple, and he will be back with us. me. Mr. Zine, did you have all your questions for the architect asked? Did you ask? I just want to make sure, because we're in the, Deborah has a question. Deborah, you can go next.
Yeah, I had a question about, the dens that were being proposed, and whether those, how to prevent those from being used as extra bedrooms.
The dens don't have door on them, and I did provide that. And that's from a design standpoint. I'm sure there's things that they do from a leasing standpoint. That's operations question. So you can see in the design, lower left-hand corner, to A14, where the den shown there's no door in that den.
We will also agree, it's a point that comes up, and it's a fair point, in terms of the question. We will agree as a condition of approval, to restrict in the lease itself, the use of that room as a bedroom. Obviously, the architect is testifying as to why it's not a bedroom, but, we will agree as a condition of approval to place a provision in the lease that makes that so it's very.
Thank you, because I see, I think there's a closet in there, so it makes it very tempting, so thank you. Appreciate that.
And in that particular unit, the shape of the unit made that space more usable for a closet, get some extra storage, rather than have that sort of deep angular, and that was the reason.
Thank you. Okay, Michael, and then Sean.
If you go back to the garage, the driveway, can you just confirm the visitor parking thing is all on the main level of the garage?
Sure, it's gonna be labeled in this area of the garage. I don't have them identified,
But it's all there.
spaces. It's there.
So if the visitor comes, I'm just trying to understand how that flows in terms of security. A visitor comes, they explain, the gate will automatically open or whatever, however that works. And then what requires that visitor to come to the lobby and not go up into the apartments?
It would just be access. Where they'd be able to go. They would be able to have access to this through the way, right through,
And that's it.
and that's it. So in other words, they would need a key card to get anywhere else in the building. So far.
Thank you. Questions?
Just on the units which are not in the landscape courtyard, can you tell us what the distance is between the garage and the big yellow?
This here?
No, just, yeah.
So the hallway abuts the garage. The wall and hallway actually touches the garage.
And then also, on the same exhibit, where it says the garage and field have a yellow, into reference.
Yeah. So that's covered. Right, that's covered. There's a door at this point here. Okay, page you can see here, it's all covered. All this is covered by units above. When you walk across the door, that gives you access to the hallway and this side.
Outside? You're outside of your room?
You're undercover outside.
You're outside. So if you live in those 7 units, you have to walk on the ground level, you have to walk outside to get to the park.
That's correct.
6 units, 5 are low and moderate income, you have to walk
Correct.
outside in order to get to the parking, everybody else doesn't have to go outside.
That's correct.
quick question. You had briefly referenced routing of conduit or implementing things like that in the garage. When you referenced the charging stations and when you required. Are there any provisions that you're putting in to make sure that you can do more? We have a very specific community here that's not like a lot of other ones. A lot of people drive electric cars, becoming more popular. Is it going to be, like, is the garage going to be quickly adaptable?
I can tell you that this client wants to lease apartment units and does not want to turn somebody away with a Tesla. It's, they understand the market. I'll let them answer that question, but, it's probably better asked for them. But, you know,
But is
nobody
there-
wants to turn away a tenant.
No, but are there any like plans to put in future provisions? Because that would be the architect's question, right?
Yes,
So you're planning where everything is going.
currently the plan is for 15%, 5% installed. I think then the next 3 years, and I think the next 3 years, we do another 5%, we get up to the 15 over a period of time.
We'll run the conduit throughout the building so that as demand may increase, we can hook up the wiring so that we can provide easily for more electric vehicles. We'll agree to that as a condition of approval as well. We want to be able to, we agree with you, we want to be able to accommodate, you know, that need if that happens.
Other questions? Are we gonna get the square footages on all these units? I'd like to see floor plans that have.
I think it's already
I will provide long before the next meeting, to start summaries for them.
Thank you.
And can we also make sure that, we just put to make sure that we're in compliance on these plans as they're written with,
The integration of the units, is that what you're
Correct.
you're looking at?
yes, please, can we just make sure we're in compliance on the.
Yeah, I will look at that. I think this thing, the Salem has generally speaking accurately set forth the way the ordinance is structured and the regulation is structured, but I will look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Brad.
Great.
I just have a few quick questions. The first one that I have is regarding the two-bedroom units. I know that you had depicted a typical three-bedroom plan with 2 bathrooms. And there were a couple of three-bedroom unit plans that we haven't seen yet. Are you proposing to have 2 bedrooms?
We are. We have
2 bathrooms?
in all.
Okay, perfect. Question regarding the units in the wing, with proximity to the rail line. Is there any additional sound attenuation during construction that you municipality or identified to limit any sound impacts to those units during their proximity to the rail?
Yes, likely. We'll hire a sound consultant, and that sound consultant will make recommendations as to what type of, whether we need a little bit more insulation, how much fenestration we show on that side, what type of windows, maybe we have to do a special window. But the wall gets rated as an overall performance, so it's not just a window or just extra insulation. It's the wall has to cohesively work for sound. So we'll likely get a recommendation from the sound expert.
Okay, thank you. And you depicted the roof plan with the mechanical units there. Is there roof access that's provided for maintenance and those type of things to access up to the roof?
There is roof hatch in the stairwell, ladder comes down, and then.
Okay, perfect. Regarding the accessible path, so for the northern wing units, access to the trash room, that would also require traversing across the driveway, to the trash room. I think it's located south of the garage.
Correct.
Area, so they would go
We also
through.
put a storage trash, an additional trash room in this utility area that could be emptied by neighbors. So you don't have to go outside and take the trash.
Okay. And then again, they would come through just to, so this is the board. So they would come through across the garage entry, and then there's a door that enters the parking garage.
Correct. Then the parking garage, through here, there's a door, that takes you to the door.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and then regarding the material finish, which I just figured out, I can't see it. Is that proposed to be a veneer brick or is that gonna be a full brick?
It's a full brick, which is technically called a brick veneer, because we don't use brick as structure, so it's called a brick veneer.
Okay.
It's a brick as siding.
And given the proposed color for the white brick, do you have any maintenance concerns regarding staining or, consideration of the white color in the paint?
That particular brick was selected because it's white through and through. It's not painted white, it's not glazed, it will stay white.
So, but even like any surface dirt or, the white vinyl fence that turns green.
Every
those kinds of things.
material gets dirty. These buildings have to be maintained, you have to power wash them, clean them. They have a maintenance company that comes in. I'm sure all these questions for operations.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Ground was okay.
Can you just identify exhibit A11?
Yeah, we don't have that.
Notes or-
We skipped over that. Yeah, skipped over it. I think it's supposed to be A05.
It was the elevation views.
Yeah.
I did not speak to the elevation views. I spoke more to the perspective views. That's how you experience the building. It just was more complimentary to me of how you experience the building, and that's what I focused on.
No, that's fine, I just wanted to, and that's the A05.
A05 in the significant sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions from members of the public? Again, you're making
Sure, Ben Stoller, 422 Moore Barnett. So, questions for the architect. At the last meeting, you were volunteered to give some testimony about the line of sight on the Glen Avenue, which is behind the train tracks. As you walk across Glen, and you look over to your left, now you have a 45+ foot structure. What does that do to the eye line for not only the residents, but for the people who are trying to walk in the reservation?
From
And I was under the understanding you were going to bring a community model of some sort so we could see that.
I think we declined to do that. We did ask.
Okay.
So Glen is located to the north of, yeah.
I just find it a little disturbing that as an architect, you can walk the property from all the different directions and get that hill for line of sight. To me, it makes
I have line of sight, I've walked around and surrounded it.
But I'm not here to continue this search for criticize. I just want to know, can you provide that view to the planning board and to the residents so you can see what that is?
We have not modeled that view.
Okay. Can you show a diagram that shows the train tracks and the level and what that looks like? Because we can see from here, and you've done everything in your power, so you say, to minimize water. So, has that been done for the rear of the
It has, this technique is followed close.
It's not that technique, but you haven't even looked and seen what it looks like. I'm just trying to understand from a planning standpoint, what that's going to do to that. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? To that
If you're
strip.
standing on Glen Avenue and you're looking towards this building, how much of it are you gonna see?
Imagine as on your vantage point, whether you're in between a house or within trees. And depends. You can, depending upon the ground cover, it's gonna be mixed. Time of the year, it's gonna vary.
Well, there is a parking lot on the other side of the train tracks.
Yeah, so there's green, pretty track parking lot, with some more green houses. So I'm not, you have to model all the greenery, all of the shrubs, everything from the trees, so to know exactly what you can see.
Okay. So we'll defer on that. We talked about traffic. When you want an urban edge, I think is the code you use, urban edge, urban fill, something along those lines. Pretty much every inch removed from Manhattan to Milburn. When you have entryways right on Milburn Avenue, it's inevitable that cars are going to go apart to bring in the DoorDashes, the Grubhubs, the Amazons, the attorney here said we're very affluent community, maybe 16, 20 times last week. And everyone orders, and especially those that are not moving or clusters of that. How do you keep that traffic flowing in your design?
these don't have addresses. You can't, if I wanted to have somebody deliver here, the address is the building. The front door is the address.
Yeah.
There's no way
See,
there's,
I'm saying.
I don't, but if you were to order from any one of these apartments, I would know where to go.
That's my question. That's a good answer. That's the question.
It's better to go to the front desk, I mean, the food you're delivering is going to the
Enterprising people may say, hey, stop this stuff and go into a level. But I thought they would be checking the address. I live on one name with a placard out front. Okay.
Just wanted to.
No, and to the gentleman's point here about the police chief giving the letter and addressing that, it becomes a much more dangerous situation, but, I guess that's not a architect question. And then the last question I have is, could you group all of the apartments for affordable housing in one unit? Have you seen that before? Because we're putting in 75 units, we're actually clustering 75 units on a former dump site that will be remediated. We're putting 75 units on that dump site. And the indignation of the planning board, I agree with, why are we clustering, et cetera, or is that okay?
But I have seen in large planned communities with multiple buildings, you have strictly low and moderate buildings sprinkled throughout the center. I've seen that done.
Okay, so you're saying that the high-end finishes, it actually looks really nice and maybe a little high, but that's for the planning board and zoning boards to determine, et cetera. I'll refer to that. That the pictures and such, when you're intermingling, so that's your answer to the question. Okay, cool. Good. All right. Thank you.
Jeffrey Phil, 11 Alexander Lane, Fort Worth, New Jersey. To help myself, and I think the whole board, I think very important that you do like a summary for part of inventory. Telling everyone on which floor and which floor sections, the allocations of the 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and studios.
Just want to make sure you're asking a question.
No, I'd like him to do that, because I can't, the question would be if he could do that, but I'm trying to save time that he provides us, that we got into the question. We talked about the garage before, saying that if a truck that could come in and take it. This is a community where we had a parking garage and the ambulance couldn't get in. Have you considered whether an ambulance can get into the parking garage, so we never have a situation that occurred at the mall?
The ambulance would go to the front door.
No, if he had to go into the garage, could an ambulance get into it? Because that's a concern of this community. It's a community-specific question.
The ambulance wouldn't have access to the garage. The garage is secure. What happens is the ambulance goes to the front door, is directed to where the emergency is.
Let's say the emergency is in the garage.
We would be directed to the emergency in the garage and be escorted, taken to that location. You wouldn't want the ambulance person, the medic, trying to find randomly the person who has an issue. You want him directed to that location.
My question is, if an ambulance had to get into that garage, could it get into that garage? The height was, you said that we're lowering the height, like the truck that there was in the take out a car. The question is, could an ambulance get inside the garage? Because this community has faced a crisis once before, where an ambulance had to get into a garage and it couldn't get into the garage.
No, an ambulance would not be able to get in. I mean, there's a variety of ambulance types. So there may be one ambulance type that can get into the garage. But I would imagine if you are a responder, you want to respond as fast as possible. You're going to go and get information to get as quickly to the person having the issue. And the way to do that is to go to the front desk and get directed to that location.
As to the summary, where are most of the studios? There's 7 studios in this complex. Where are they located? Are they all located in that one building that's closer to the train tracks? Or are they located dispersed throughout?
We have one studio here. The front sheet, exhibit A8, sheet A2 and submit set. We have exhibit studio unit here.
That's in northern
right hand corner.
Thank you.
It's a little bit above on the.
No.
And right along the front, along the Essex Street, there's 2 that stack right there.
So all the studios basically have one corner now, so we couldn't see that from here. I like Mrs. Nega's question about the lease restriction, but when we did the Upton project, we removed the closet from the den, so we could avoid that. And I hope you consider that policy, because that is something that you did before with the Upton, that you took the closet out of the den to prevent that from using it as a bedroom. And just I'm trying to figure out a timeline, because we began this hearing today, we're talking about the settlement, that this hearing is based on settlement. Then we're hearing that based on the ordinance. When did you get involved in this project? If you had a timeline, was it March 2021? Was it July 2021? Or was it November 2021? I just like to know when you got involved in helping plan out this project.
It's a good question. I have to look back and
Get back to us,
Yeah.
because it's very, the community is very, I feel for you guys, because this is a project that the community did not really hear until after it was approved, and I'm just trying to find out when you got involved.
Yeah, I mean, projects have multiple iterations over time, and when I first touched the project,
And if you can get back to us with the answer, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Ray, if I may, just, the heights of the garages and so forth, those are regulated, right?
Correct.
And how are they regulated?
Well, the regulated is based on a minimum floor, or minimum clearance height.
Are they regulated by ordinance, or are they regulated by building code construction code?
Okay.
The building code meaning uniform construction code, correct?
Yes.
And uniform construction code is a statewide code. Municipalities don't adopt the uniform construction code. That applies to all municipalities in the state of New Jersey, right?
Correct.
And that building code is established by the state of New Jersey, correct? And that building code supersedes any local control, isn't that right?
Is he a legal witness or is he an architect? Just a quick question.
Well, I've had architects testify, I've had on issues of uniform construction code. And I can tell you that as a matter of law, in a legal opinion, the uniform construction code preempts local control. So if the uniform construction code requires a certain building height for a garage, that's the building height for the garage. The municipality doesn't even have the power to change it because it's regulated by the uniform construction code. That's the point of that.
Is there a minimum height, Mr. Architect?
Yes, there is.
And what is that height?
7 feet.
And is there a maximum height? Can you go higher than 7 feet?
I am not familiar with the maximum height.
Have you ever done a building where the heights are higher than 7 feet in a garage?
This one.
This one. So what is that?
This one varies depending upon clearances and structure, but generally you have 8 foot, a little over 8 feet clear throughout the garage. You asked before, remember I said you go from the garage into the building. So the intention is to move the floors so that the building is accessible.
So even though the uniform construction code allows for a minimum, you don't allow.
Yes, but I wouldn't want to change accessibility. So I need to make this building compliant. So I have 4 floor heights in my building. I have to meet your ordinance in height. And then this garage needs to meet those floors.
Any other members of the public?
My name is Ponce Perry, I live in 64 Mountain Road. One of the witnesses 2 weeks ago indicated that the setback of the corner as you're leaving Wilbur Avenue and going to Essex is a 2-foot setback. Is that correct?
I would, I mean, he's gonna answer questions with regard to his testimony. He's not here to answer questions with regard to somebody else's.
I don't know how to rephrase it.
You
I'll
asked.
just rephrase it. What is the setback of the building as you go from Wilbur Avenue?
So the setback is actually measured all along Milford Avenue. So I don't just measure the minimum. So I can tell you what the minimum close distance is.
I'm asking you one, right
I
there.
believe it was about 2 feet, and the engineer has that information on his civil plans, but I believe it was around 2 feet.
Is there any shrubbery along that as well? In front of the 2-foot setback?
Yes, and the landscape architect will read that when he
Is that block? You think that would block any?
He just said a landscape, but he did
All
budget
right.
for it.
All right, the stoops, so the stoops invite people to stop, to invite people to go in and out of group, businesses.
Absolutely, I would think that you thought, if I had a stoop unit, I would want to leave and take a walk.
So you anticipate cars will be stopping there and letting people get off the mat? dropping people off is the nearest way to get back home, and they go into the main.
I think it'd be, I think it'd be mid-access, but we have a pedestrian access.
I'm asking you, if people coming up west on Newland Avenue, do you think that people will be coming to a stop to drop their friends?
Just knowing Newburgh Avenue, I think I'd rather pull off and get off of Newburgh Avenue rather than pull over and take a chance on.
Because that's not, you don't.
Look, can I tell you people make left-hand turns when it's not allowed, or
Well, no,
just
you're-
stop in the middle of the street?
no,
Get out
my
of here?
question is-
I know
my
it's
question
definitely
is-
in your area of expertise.
It's not,
I-
but you
I-
just-
I don't
but you-
answer the question.
Okay, but you designed the building where there's stoops in front of a major road, Newburgh Avenue, correct?
Correct.
And you did that knowing that you'd be inviting people to enter their homes from Newburgh Avenue, correct?
Very much.
And it's dropped off and people would pick up. That's part of it, right? You don't think so?
That was not the intention.
Do you think it's a possibility of an effect?
Again,
As an architect,
not an architectural.
I think it is an architect.
Pilot.
Oh, okay.
Any other members from the public have questions? Okay. We are almost at 10:45. This is what I would like to call the meeting. I know you mentioned you did have somebody else here to discuss parking operations.
Yes, he'll be here at the next meeting as well.
Fantastic.
What's the date?
I think it's not going to be June 7th.
No,
Means
June 21st.
the 21st of June. Summer solstice here in Melbourne. Holy Stadium. Please confirm. 21st of June.
Okay, so, yeah, on the 21st, we'll have Mr. Schwartz. We will also bring back Mr. Penke.
And as of now, are there no other applications on that evening?
No.
Great, so people leave it.
So we have the
Okay, we will, you will have the traffic report.
Yeah, I think they said we'd have a traffic report by June 7th, because we'd be ready for the next meeting, but you have a full
We may
agenda.
have point here, not May, we might be.
That's fine.
Just be over there. Yes. Great. I will now announce that we will carry application 22003 to the June 21st, 2023 meeting at 7:30 PM here without required additional notice. I move to adjourn. Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Good evening. Faster and faster.